Following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me.
All right, thanks for coming, kids. Good night.
You look so happy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
This
Believe
is
it
like
or
an old
not.
school one.
I gotta share this. I forgot
It's
to do
like
that.
late 80s, you think, right?
Did you have fun with Billy from Brando's?
I'm wearing the same dress I wore on Saturday.
I noticed that. I posted a picture of you in that dress, and I must have had 100 direct messages afterwards from people going, "Oh, now I know. Now I know what's going on. I know."
Really? Did you tell everyone what happened after everything ended?
After everything ended.
I got picked up by my date.
Oh, by your date.
Maybe
Yes,
we can have
she
our
wants
guest today
everyone.
look him
She
up,
wants
'cause I
everyone to
wanna
know that she had a date. Everybody.
Maybe we can ask him. He can look him up, maybe, for me.
Oh,
I wanna
okay.
make sure he's
Yeah, he
okay,
could do that.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a little fishy. I don't know.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. We got a guest, right? We're going to do the guest right away. Normally we talk for about 10, 15 minutes, go over news of the day and stuff. But he has someplace to be at 3:30. He has to be in Linfield. So we're going to do the sponsors. We're going to go right to the guest. And then if he has to leave, then we definitely have to talk about Diana DeZoglio. That's just unbelievable
big,
what they did. And they all called me trying to make excuses. Tom, you don't understand. You haven't read the wording. I'm like, okay, send me the wording. I read it, and I'm like, actually, I understood that perfectly.
I'm starting a campaign. It's going to be, we are not mad enough. We are not. We're not angry enough. Everyone.
I'd say Coppinger's off the show.
No, that's it.
If you don't pop, you can't stay. That's the rule.
I'll practice that.
All right. All right, let's get this show going because he does have someplace to be and we are late. Hi, how you guys doing? My name's Tom Duggan here with the Paying Attention podcast, high atop the Golden Seal Apothecary and Magnolia Dentistry, both of whom hate me and neither one of them deserve the free plug, but I give it to them anyway because I love North Andover. I love downtown North Andover. I think all these businesses are all suffering because downtowns are not what downtowns used to be. Yeah. So if you need a dentist, please come see Magnolia Dentistry. No, we're not giving them any business till we taste the new food across the street.
Really?
Yeah,
I want to give them a shout out. They were so nice.
They were
nice?
They
come from another place. They're not
all right,
from
go ahead.
here.
Give them a free plug if you have to.
So what is the real name? The name now?
Right now it's J&M Subs.
So now new owners are going to be coming in within 2 weeks, and they're going to be called the Five Sons because they have 5 sons.
Oh, okay.
And they had another store.
I don't think there's room for
Mass.
5 people in that place.
They're not all gonna be there.
Oh, all right, okay.
They're fine
All right.
business. But shout out to them.
All right, let's get to our sponsors. Do we start with? We don't start with Jane Zanny. The Century 21 McLennan Real Estate Brando's. Did you have fun with Billy from Brando's?
I did.
It's Billy from Brando's. Get your chicken cutlets over here.
I like the Cadillac. That was good.
Yeah, the Cadillac sandwich is great. The Cardinal sandwich is the prime rib with the au jus sauce, and that's just unbelievable.
I didn't try it.
Now what did you have? You had the ziti with chicken, but what was the sauce?
The Cadillac sauce. So
that's the Cadillac sauce.
Yes,
that was really good.
So good with the chicken, and then they had Beretta cheese on top, and it had pesto. Oh, delish.
And somebody posted something nasty about me on the preview that he did about, hey, come down and see Tom Duggan and the Paying Attention. Yeah. And somebody was like, oh, you're going to lose business because of that. And Billy gave it right back to him. He came back and said something like, well, that's funny. You would think that that's true given what people say about him, but our business doubled when we started advertising, so you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. There was people that got there and they were looking at you because they knew you were there, but they were afraid to come up to you. Why are people afraid of you, Tom?
Because my detractors are very loud. The people who hate me are very loud.
Or maybe they're guilty of something. That's what I was thinking.
Maybe that could be too. Town Roofing, Chachi's Junk Removal, and Chachi's Junk Removal is the guy, Jared, who detailed my car. He did a great job. In fact, Gretchen just was mentioning that. La Despierta Lawrence, that's by Lizzie Rivas. Are you still mad at her?
Keep going.
All right. The Zany Pesh Law Office, Zany Pesh, by the way, a memo to the sexiest woman alive. I want my letter read at the next council meeting Monday night. So they didn't get a chance to read it, and that's okay, but it's still relevant. The mayor is going to be coming before the council Monday asking for even more money for the schools, and now is a good time to read my letter. On the go notary, Marsan & Son Construction, EIS. Investigation and gun training. My prediction, they're going to drop the charges against Joe Solomon. Remember where you heard it first. Tomo and Shaken Seafood. Veteran Pathways, which used to be Clear Path for Veterans New England, they've rebranded themselves. They wanted the word veteran in the front. They didn't like that it was Clear Path for Veterans because people said
IVS or no? Are they taking that too or no?
No, but I know that Randy's still trying. Randy's still trying to take over, but we'll talk about that on a different show. Tomo and Shaken Seafood, AFC Urgent Care. A shout out to our buddy Zaka and his wife Tamara over at AFC Urgent Care. Pleasant Valley, you ready? Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors with the Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractor cam. Look at how great she looks. Go back to you. Come on. That was like 3 seconds.
Yeah, you fixed my hair.
You have a huge following on this show, and they have all reached out to me and said we need more of Intern Girl.
God bless you guys.
All right, okay.
I mean,
Prime Insurance, the Doug Mercurio Law Office, a free shout-out to 4-Star Lighting, Total Mortgage, Stadium Chiropractic, Lambert and Randone, and of course, JG's Ice Cream. Also, Cedar View Homes is now a new sponsor. We'll have the graphic will be up next week, as well as I'll get the other one. We have a new sponsor also starting next week. In the studio with me today, we're going to get right to him. We're not even going to chat a little bit. I'll do that at the end of the show. Is Essex County Sheriff Kevin Coppinger. And I was thinking about this before the show today. We have really kind of a fun history because the sheriff and I met when I sponsored a debate. There was like 9 candidates running for sheriff when you first ran in the primary. So it was a Democrat primary with like 9 or 13 people. It was a lot of people. We had to do it over 2 nights because there were so many candidates. And the guy who emerged from all of that carnage, and those were fun debates because everybody kind of thought that they all had a shot, so everybody was taking underhanded shots at everybody else. And who was the other guy that really had a good shot? He worked for the sheriff. Was it Markins?
Mike Marks.
Marks.
He was the superintendent.
I was actually really impressed with you and with him the most. And you ended up emerging victorious. And, of course, in the final, no Republican can win in Massachusetts because it's Massachusetts. And so ever since then, we've had, I think, a pretty decent, pretty cordial relationship. And I know I scared you a little bit when I got sued by a certain person that, we won't mention. But after all that was over, we still have a pretty good cordial relationship, although I do have an advertiser who doesn't really like you a whole lot. Ronnie Bertheim, he's an advertiser, and he's a constable, and I think you guys at the Sheriff's Department kind of pushed him out of Haverhill. So if there's anything you could do for Ronnie Bertheim, throw him a little business. He's a constable. He's not a bad guy. But
did he do something illegal, though?
But no, he's a constable, so he serves papers.
Oh, okay.
And the Sheriff's Department under this sheriff and the last sheriff and the sheriff before that, they want all the business. They want to do the process servers because they're trained.
Oh, okay.
And so I think he kind of got aced out of Haverhill. So I'm just going to make you don't have to give us an answer now, but a nice ask that if there's something you could do for Ronnie Bertheim, because I feel bad for the guy.
I'll just key in real quick, and I don't know him. I wouldn't know if he walked in here.
I don't think it was personal against him. It was just against constables in general.
I don't know why us. The problem with constables is post-commission. And this is probably a whole other show another day, Tom, but the whole post-commission now, because if they can exercise the full duties and powers of police officers, they need to be post-certified, which is a huge Pandora's box to open up for constables. So and we're fighting some of it with the deputy sheriffs that we have, but again.
We have to get rid of this post-commission. It's ridiculous. It's silly. It's political.
It's good and bad.
And I know, we all know that there's a certain corrupt cop in Lawrence who's got a friend on that commission, so people he doesn't like end up going before that commission. And we've talked about it on the show without mentioning names and going down that road. But it's a very political organization, and it basically goes by whether they like you or not. It really doesn't have much to do with anything else. I'm okay with a civilian review board if it's at the local level. You have local people in that community who know those cops, who know what's going on. I'm kind of okay with that, but removing it and making it a state, I don't know what you think about it, but
it's across the country. Majority of states have post commissions.
Really,
and some of the stuff, like I said, it's good and bad. Some of the stuff is really good. It's legitimizing policing, making sure we got the right people. And I'm a training guy. The right people who are properly trained. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind that's the key. And do they sometimes go too far? Yeah. But but there's a lot of stuff going on. I know a lot of the police chiefs associations got some issues with it. It's still kind of in its infancy stage, even though it's been around for 3 or 4 years. I have to see what the final result's going to be after this gets.
But in the meantime, a lot of people get hurt, and that's the problem when you're doing these kind of social political experiments. Yeah. People get hurt. Yeah. And my biggest frustration with police officers, even though I'm very pro cop, obviously, but my biggest problem with police officers locally and nationally is their absolute lack of training in First Amendment issues, where they're constantly trying to get people. I'm out there all the time with my camera, and these new kids that come on are constantly giving me a hard time, threatening to arrest me. And I'm like, listen, you want to lose your qualified immunity? I don't know if you realize who you're talking to. And I always hate when people go, do you know who I am? But it's kind of like, this is kind of like my thing. Like, so I know what I'm doing. If I was you, I would ask your supervisor before you proceed, because it's not going to end well for you. But all over the Merrimack Valley, all over the state, all over the country, police officers are not being trained in basic First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment rights. And it's kind of hard to enforce the law when you don't know the law.
I'd argue a little bit with you now.
Okay, sure.
So, I mean, my job as a sheriff, but I also got appointed, 4 or 5 years ago, as the member of the Municipal Police Training Committee for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And because of my background as a police chief and as a sheriff, I got, voluntold to chair the standards subcommittee of MPTC, which pretty much everything goes through standards. So, like with the First Amendment, I mean, there are trainings available. We've trained our people at the jail almost annually, because I don't want to get in the hot water and get my name on the front page of the paper, because we know, the limits, especially around a jail. There's limits where folks can go with that's public space, and it's not. And the same thing applies in the community. So I would just counter what you said was like, hopefully the local authorities are aware of it, and they're getting training for their staff. And through MPTC, I know we send out bullets all the time saying, hey, this class is coming, this class is coming up. There's a lot of training out there. They need to take advantage of it. That will settle a lot of the issues you're talking about.
Yeah, the other thing is their addiction to IDs. Most of these, especially new cops, think that they have the right to ask you for an ID anytime they talk to you. Well, I'm making contact, so I deserve an ID. No, you don't, unless I'm committing a crime, and you have to articulate what you think that crime is. Now, if you tell me that some guy with a leafy shirt was just reported to have broken into a car, okay, fine, I'll be happy to give you my ID. But I think especially, like, the old timers know. The old timers know better. But the new kids coming on, it just seems like they're not getting the first, fifth, and Fourth and Fifth Amendment training.
Yeah, that's not a bad statement, but again, I think it's case by case and department by department, and it's probably the more active departments that see this thing are doing, again, more training. And these are simple roll call trainings. You can take care of the topic you just mentioned.
Oh, sure.
2 or 3 minutes of a roll call. Bang, bang, it's done.
Every department should hire me to do a 2-hour seminar on the First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment, and to just do like a 1-hour, 2-hour seminar so that these guys just get it. You just need to get it. Like, you just need to be told once. You can't ask for an ID unless the guy's committed a crime. But for me, nice. Very good. Intern go.
So, thank you, sir.
Before we start, you have made your maiden voyage as a columnist in the Valley Patriot.
Yes.
I'm getting really good responses. I'm surprised because we have a lot of criminals who read us and they don't like cops and sheriffs. But I am getting a lot of good response from it. But one of the things I wanted to have you on today is because I wanted to kind of piggyback on what your column was. Most people don't really understand what does a sheriff do, and I know we kind of touched on that 4 years ago when you were here. I think you had just gotten elected or you just had taken office. But I kind of want to go through that again, and I want to talk about maybe some of the things people don't know about what sheriffs do.
Before we do that, I just want to go back if I could. Actually, I've been in office over 9 years, believe it or not.
That can't be true.
January of 2017 is when I took office. So
we did that debate in 2016?
2016. There were
Holy
13 people, including myself, running. 6 Democrats, 2 independents, and the rest of the field were
I'm getting old. Were you still at the Tribune back then?
Yeah.
Oh, she was. Okay.
But I went to my first year in office, I went to your bash. And I didn't know you from Adam. And I walked in that room, and it was packed. I was impressed. I got to say that. And somehow or other, you gave me a couple minutes to speak, and I'm up on the podium. And then you and, was it Rich Russell? See the guy? You come up to me, or he came up, you spoke, he came up, and he's giving me a reporter's notebook. And let's just say I know you had some differences of opinion with my predecessor, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, so you said you gave me that book, it was empty. And you said, Sheriff, you better have your game on, or you better be doing the right thing. Otherwise, I'm going to fill that book up with all kinds of freedom of information requests, all kinds of other zings here. And, that book is empty.
Yeah.
So hopefully I've been doing something right, Tom.
My rule is if your name doesn't come across my desk in an entire year, you must be doing okay.
Here we go.
There are people who say to me, hey, do you know that new cop in Methuen? He's a sergeant. He's been on for maybe 4 or 5 years. And if I don't recognize the name, he must be a good guy.
Yeah.
Because if he was doing something wrong, my phone would be ringing off the hook. Yeah. So the good news is that, because I deal with scandal a lot, if you're doing okay, you're not going to hear from me most of the time, except for stuff like this. So what does the sheriff do? And what do you think the biggest surprise is that people learn about what sheriffs do that most people kind of don't know about?
Well, it's funny. When I was campaigning the last time, because I'm in my second term, and we're going out, people going, we have a sheriff? What does he do? And I think sometimes they think the sheriff is like sheriffs in other parts of the country where they're the full
kicking
state
doors
police,
in.
kicking doors and
Right.
riding horses and cowboy hats and belt buckles.
Which would be fun. I wouldn't mind doing that.
And then I think sometimes they think like the correctional world is like Shawshank Redemption and that type of world. So unless people either are involved in the business or have a family member, a loved one, or a friend or something that's in jail, they really don't think about us. They see the vans going back and forth. They don't. So to answer your question, well, first of all, and I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I run the largest bed and breakfast in Essex County. 3 square meals a day in an orange jumpsuit. What more could you ask for? But
Where do I sign up?
But we are one of the largest jails and houses of correction in the Commonwealth, and it's a busy place. And we have inmates from all 34 cities and towns in there. So people come to us after they get in trouble, obviously with the criminal justice system, and 70% of our jail population is pre-trial. The rest of it, have been convicted, so they're sentenced, as we call them. But years ago, when I was a young cop, you remember I was a chief of police in Lynn. I know you've said that before, and the old days was we're gonna lock them up, throw away the key. And that's kind of gone by the wayside. Criminal justice.
I missed that.
Yes and no. I got to say, I was
Just
old school
saying.
cop. I came on the streets in the '80s, and it was like that was the attitude. But society has kind of moved the other way, and I got to say, I've kind of seen the light, but I consider myself in the middle. There are people in jail that should stay in jail, that should never see the light of day. Absolutely and truly, yes, they should. But there's a lot of people in jail right now because if you ask me, what are the 2 biggest reasons people are in our jails? Substance use disorder and mental illness. Danvers State Hospital, going way back for those that are can remember, they closed that place and these folks are back.
Why is it that every politician that I talk to, from state rep to lieutenant governor to state senate to Congress, all say that exact same thing? We got rid of Danvers. It was the worst thing we ever did, but nobody's doing anything to bring it back. Like, nobody's doing anything to bring back. And we all lament, oh, my God, the old days, wasn't it great when we had someplace to put these people besides jail? But there's no effort at all that they just take it to the next step and go, okay, well, how do we do that? Like, how do we bring back a Danvers so that these people aren't being punished for mental illness?
Well, I think that's a story for probably the legislators and the DPHs and stuff. But I'm going to just counter with you saying, but we're doing something about those people
Okay,
in jail
good.
now.
All right.
Because we're not ignoring them. And again, 32 years as a cop and now 9 as a sheriff. I've seen the good,
9
bad.
years, man.
I've seen the good, bad, and the ugly of society.
Right.
Okay. So now, when we get somebody, particularly with the mental illness, and I thought I knew corrections until I got there, and I said, Kevin, you are clueless until you get in and you see the type of folks and what the bizarre behavior that they do. So we've taken a giant step forward on that stuff. We brought in clinical social workers, mental health folks. The doctors and the nurses to give medications. We even created what we call a COPE, Correctional Opportunities for Personal Enrichment. It's a special unit for folks with like low-level anxieties. These are the folks that go out in the street and just may walk into a McDonald's or a coffee shop or something like that and create an issue that's going to blow up to something more serious. And these are things you can address, inside the jail. Probably should be better outside, but that's what we have today because the society doesn't know what to do with them. But we're addressing the issues with these folks, with giving them care, and then with some of our reentry programs, with the STAR programs that we run, our reentry centers in Lynn and Lawrence, we're handing off to folks in the community so these people have continuous treatment and rehab services at them. And we're seeing results because we have...
What's the recidivism rate for people who go through that?
Well, I'll give you recidivism rates in general first, if I could. So when I came in here, again, January 17, we were talking about a 43% recidivism rate, all right? And that was the little bit of old school, lock them up, throw away the key. Today, if somebody comes into jail and we get them to engage in programs, and we can talk about programs all day long, everything from clinical, educational to vocational, and obviously the mental health and the substance use disorders issues, we address those, and they work with us inside the jail. And they do the programs, and then they step down to the Lawrence Pre-Release Center. We call it the farm, getting ready to come back to the thing. And then if they leave there, it's about a 13.5% recidivism rate, 1 year. That's the lowest in the state. Out of all 14, we have the lowest. If you take that then and you get them involved with the STAR programs, again, supporting transition and reentries, we love acronyms, as you might remember. So
and I hate acronyms.
I hate
It's the
them too.
worst part of government.
But you almost need a cheat sheet all the time.
Right.
But you got to have them. But if folks come out of there and they go to the STAR programs in the Lynn and Lawrence, that recidivism rate drops to 2.6.
That's great.
We're running in Lynn about 100 people a week, and up here in Lawrence about 65 people a week that are coming in and getting treatment. It's been so successful. We've been nationally recognized, but to me the success part is people are coming in off the street and asking for help. before they get arrested, before the cops are called, before the courts are involved, before the handcuffs come out, and they come in and say, what can you do with us? Now, a lot of it's the Lawrence police and the Lynn police are saying, hey, so-and-so, you ought to get your rear end over to see the stop people before we do put the bracelets on you. But they're coming in. We've got social workers in there. We've got Northern Essex Community College in there. We've got trade people in there helping us, but we got these people in there, and they're engaged. And then everybody has a navigator, as we call. If you think big brother, big sister, so when they get out, they're like calling them up, say, by the way, you got an NA meeting to go to tonight, or an AA meeting. You got a doctor's appointment here. You got a job interview, here in the next couple of days. You got a link for these people versus the old days when I was a street cop. Come out of jail, go back to the streets, live in the shelter, grab the old lady's pocketbooks at the first of the month when they got their Social Security earnings, break into houses, cause havoc, and now at least we've got some track on those people. So you see those recidivism rates coming down. Crime's down pretty much everywhere. And even last week I saw something come out of the Mass Department of Public Health that overdose rates have dropped 16.5% in the last year.
And that's great, but that's because Donald Trump closed the border and he's deporting people that are bringing in. He stopped the flow in. It was just an open it was just open for 4 years, so that helps. But also the way you're dealing with the people who have the addiction also helps. I think intern goes to had a question.
Yeah. How do you decide who goes to the county jail? So I see, like, if a politician gets in trouble, they get to go there. Certain people get to go there. How is that decision made?
It depends on how big a trouble you're in. So, if, like you mentioned politicians. So, if you get indicted by the United States Attorney, that's the feds, that's the Moakley Courthouse in Boston. You're in serious trouble, and you will go to a federal jail or a penitentiary, depending on where you go. Anybody charged in Massachusetts courts will come to the sheriff's department if they're held. District courts, superior courts, they can come. About 2/3 of our population are those pretrials. And the other third are sentenced. We can only hold up to 2.5 years if you're sentenced. If you get sentenced to 2.5 or 2.6 years, you're going up to the State Department of Corrections, which is really everything out in Shirley right now. So, but because we're pretrial, we got everybody. We got your rapists, your murderers, you got your armed robbers, your gangbangers, all the way down. Maybe somebody on a second or third driving under the influence of alcohol, those type of things.
Is it for safety for the politician? Because if they do get sentenced, they stay there too, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we've had elected people in our jail.
Yeah, I know. We know.
He was afraid of the boy. He had Lenny Duggan too for a little while.
Lenny Duggan was in jail?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Did he have the recent
He's the only
too?
one that went to jail because of the Willie Lantigua stuff.
Did he have the recent one too?
The recent one.
In Lawrence?
No.
I can't. I'm not saying a word because technically I can't share people's core information, and you got a lot of listeners. I don't want to get in jail myself, so I'm going to pass on that question.
Listen,
I'm asking Tom.
He was almost my landlord. If Debo and Kelly had their way,
I had that jumpsuit all ready for it. In a room with a view.
I was getting emails. Your prisoners can use emails, right?
No,
because I was getting emails from prisoners in. I don't want to say Middleton. It might have been the farm.
No,
you guys don't have any access to emails, phones, nothing?
They have tablets.
Okay.
And they can make phone calls from tablets, but they all have to be pre-approved numbers.
Okay.
Simply because if somebody's in there on a domestic,
right,
and they can't call the
because I was getting emails from people who were saying that they were in prison, like saying that they couldn't wait till I got there.
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret, but everybody knows it. So if I'm in jail and I want to get in contact with you, I could just send Gretchen an email and say, "Hey, Gretchen, send Tom Duggan this message and say I sent it." That happens. You might have gotten that, but you can't. They can't. They have an intranet. They can speak with inside the jail to us for different stuff, different administrative stuff, but they can't get outside the fences.
It was very bizarre. After I won my criminal case, and then I had my record expunged up in New Hampshire. 2 months later, we had our bash, and who was our guest at the bash was District Attorney Paul Tucker, who prosecuted me, and the guy who would have been my landlord had I lost my case.
and
so to have both of them, the Methuen police and the Methuen cops were the ones that arrested me. Yeah. So it was a very bizarre night, and I want to apologize. Last year, so this year we had given you a huge role, and you ended up not being able to come. So by the way, next year you're going to have a huge role in the bash.
Just give me the date in advance. That's
okay. So it's going to be March 20. I'll get it before you leave. It's going to be March 27th to 20th. It's that Friday.
Yep.
So 2 years ago, last year, not this year, but last year, you came. You were there early.
Yep.
You stayed the entire night. At the very end, when we were giving out the Officer Tom Duggan Award, you were still sitting there.
I was.
And I felt bad. On the way home, I actually said to my friend Nancy, I said, I feel bad that the sheriff was here and we never had him up on stage. I have a rule at the bash. If you come and you've been at a previous bash, I want to give you a microphone. I want to give you some publicity. I want to put you in the paper. we have other politicians who show up once in a while, and all they do is ask for a microphone. They only want to be there to be on stage. You're not that. So I really wanted to get you up there. And during the bash, I kept trying to find a way to work you in.
That's fine. I appreciate it.
And that wasn't the year we went 4.5 hours, so it ended up not working.
Yeah. I was going to throw you there for breakfast. I wasn't sure we were there for the
So to make
dinner.
it up to you, and I felt bad about this, so I'm going to say it here on the show. To make it up to you, I'm going to give you a role next year. The other thing I'm going to do is we've never given an Officer Tom Duggan Hero Police Officer Award to a member of the Sheriff's Department. So I would like you to nominate someone.
Oh, sure.
And you know what our criteria is.
Yep,
We want
yep.
someone that's underappreciated, doesn't get the Rotary Award and the Exchange Award, not somebody that's politically friends with anybody, but someone that just comes in, does the work every day. Maybe they've done something heroic, maybe not, but someone that really just deserves it. Because my father was very underappreciated when he was a cop. He took the sergeant's exam 3 times, passed 3 times, was in the top 3 all 3 times, and got passed over all 3 times. And so I'm looking for people like that. I'm looking for people that
Never, always show up.
they're putting their life on the line, and they come in, they do the little things, they do what they're supposed to do. Maybe they've done something heroic. That's great. We can talk about that. But maybe not. We've had guys that didn't really do anything terribly heroic, but they're really great cops, and so we've had chiefs nominate them, and we've picked them. I think next year what we need to do is we need to have a member of the Essex County Sheriff's Department. We need to have you do the presentation with us.
Awesome. You're talking about unsung heroes.
Yeah.
And we've got a whole ton of them in the jail.
Right. And we'll have, obviously, I was talking to District Attorney, I always say that wrong, I always say District Attorney. District Attorney Paul Tucker, I was on the phone with him last night, and I was just kind of picking his brain about a couple of things, and talking to him about a situation going on in Lawrence, and I said, you know what, I've never done an Essex County Sheriff employee for this. When you come next year, would you be okay if we did that? Because he's a cop, too.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And he was like, oh, listen, that's a great idea. I can't believe we've never even thought of it, so I'd like to do that.
Awesome. That's a great idea. Thank you for that. That would be great.
You had ideas in your head when you ran for this. I went back and I watched some of that debate that you did. I can't believe it was so long ago.
That was an interesting night. I remember that.
And I remember asking you, what do you want to do when you hit the ground running? Yeah. If you win, and I asked everybody the same question, what do you want to do when you hit the ground running? So now you've been there for a while, I guess my question is, what was a surprise? Like everyone has an idea when they run for school committee, sheriff, mayor, of what the job's going to be. Then they get in and they go, holy shit, I had no idea. What were the surprises when you got there that you kind of didn't think it was going to be that way, but it was? Like, what was your...
Yep. When I went in there, obviously I had to do the transition team and get it all done. So after we got that, it was like, okay, I had a lot of experience as a chief and a deputy chief. I said, let's ballpark this year and a half. We'll get this on like where we want it, And then I found it was like drinking water from a fire hose. When you come up there, it's like whoosh, And that plan went out the window pretty quick. And the reasons there's again, I've talked about a little bit about when you look at the inmate population, it's very diverse in the ways because, again, with mental illness and substance use, that we could talk about that all day long. It just affects so many people. It does not discriminate. It's not a Lynn or a Lawrence or a Manchester or a Marblehead. It's everybody, and then we deal with that. So I have all that, and then we had to change. Really, one of the things I needed to change was the culture inside the jail. And that was a little bit tough. First of all, because I'm the sheriff, when I go in there, everybody wants to make the sheriff happy. And I don't like everybody. I don't like the yes men. I don't like them. What do you need, sheriff?
Ass kissers are the worst.
I didn't want to say it, but you did it. But I don't want to. How do you want your coffee? Just come in and do the job.
Right.
And we had to figure that out. And we had a couple bumps in the road, but we sat down, and I'm the new guy. They're all like, let's check this guy out, and they do a couple of challenges.
They're all pushing boundaries. They all want to see what they can get away with.
They want to run the jail.
Right.
I'm like, hey, I got elected, and I'm not a new kid. I've been in this business for many, many years. So it took a little while to get them there. And then, criminal justice reform came in the year afterwards, and that was all that other mess that was going on. I'm like, okay, I got to sell some of these things and, try to do it. But one of the best things I ever did up there was, I think it was my second year, and I created 2 working groups. One was just sergeants, and one was lieutenant captains. These are the core people, the meat and potatoes of the organization that work the housing units, that really it's the safety issue. And no other brass, just me and the sergeants. And it was Kevin to Tom, not sergeant to sheriff. It's like, sit here. No BS. Just let me hear what's going on. And I learned so much just listening to them, and we could make some changes. And then it's like the new generations today. Everybody says it's the Y generation. When I got on the job, if a captain or lieutenant told you to do something, you just did it. You didn't ask any questions. Now
everybody's arguing about everything.
Yeah. So I had to make these changes and get it through, and then stop putting the programs in, which is one of the reasons I know you heard me at all the debates and everything else, like these programs that we got to do, because when I was in Lynn, What frustrated me was that recidivism rate, everybody coming back. There were all these different organizations throughout Lynn that will help people, but nobody talked to each other.
Right.
And it was like these little islands all over the place. And we, that's really what started, but we started it inside the jail too. Just bring everybody together so when people get out of here, they got a link to hook up with. So trying to get that all done. And then we get into the George Floyd era and all the other stuff that came with that. So it was like, and then COVID. We got our butts kicked with
God,
COVID.
that must have been so. I never even thought of that. How do you run a jail during COVID? That had to be a nightmare.
It was. That's an understatement. We had about 125 people with active COVID at the midst of that 2020 that summer. It was so bad, Tom. This was when society was just all over the damn place.
Right.
The world was shut down. And then the inmates thought that, if I get COVID, they'll let me out of jail. I'm not kidding you. They were literally sharing toothbrushes during COVID so they would get it. So
those are people that deserve to be in jail.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that one, but I won't
so.
disagree. But it was like, so we had to shut the jail down. We had to lock them in because you can't have them congregate with each other. And it's a tough business. You got 120 guys in one housing unit, 2 guys in a cell. And I'll be honest, these guys don't have the best personal hygiene, so you got to kind of keep on touch with that. And you got to get them, And so we did that. That just shut us down for several weeks. Well, to shut the world down. Then we had to figure out how to get out of it. Then we got the vaccines came into play, and we got that thing, and we had to clean the place constantly, and we couldn't use like hand sanitizer like we all had out in the public. Couldn't put that in the jail because there's alcohol,
in it. Right.
What do you mean?
There's alcohol in it, and they'll
drink it?
They'll try to drink it.
No.
Yeah. They'll distill it, and then they'll drink the distilled. Yeah.
You're lying.
No.
That's one of the things I said. I thought I understood corrections till I got there. And I know the street people used to do that, but I said, that's got to be a few and far between. Now that's a business inside the jail. So I mean, little things like that to get it rolling. Then we finally, we kind of got on the same page, and we got 3 different unions, and we finally broke bread nicely and worked together and moved the place forward. So it took a while.
What's the biggest challenge that you have now that you've been there a while? You've exerted your dominance. Everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows what you accept, what you don't accept, what you tolerate. What's your biggest challenge now? Like if you were to run for re-election, what would you be looking at the next? It's a 6-year term, right?
6-year term.
No term limits.
No term limits. No. Which is why I'm so glad that his predecessor left on his own. Yeah. Because that guy was a nightmare. I don't want to mention names, but what do you see your biggest challenge going forward?
It's getting the message out what the sheriff's department does.
Yeah.
That's where we started this topic. People don't know. And and I get out, I go up, I'm still all over the place. I still go to community meetings and rotaries and all that other stuff. But I got a 6-year term, so I'm not out there really politicking. I'm just out there just trying to meet people and stuff. But ththey look at you. Oh, I didn't know we had a sheriff. As I said before,
I didn't even know what you did.
What do you do?
Right.
You don't. So it's getting that message out, but it's more like trying to support. Get society. I guess is just to make it better. But it's just amazing that I keep going back to the mental health and substance use that's inside the jail. And it's like, and I know sometimes with the progressives out there, I sometimes agree, sometimes I don't agree. I'm not going to beat around the bush, but sometimes will you just sit down with us and listen to what reality is and what's here? You gotta understand society. You can't just listen to rumor and innuendo. You got to go for the fact-based.
As
stuff.
a former prisoner myself, I was a little surprised when they brought me from a Duggan police department to the court for bail hearing.
Yeah.
Before I could even go into the courtroom, they handed me about 15 pieces of paper that I had to read and fill out.
Yeah.
And I was a little shocked at the red tape. I'm like, I spent a weekend in jail. This is just a bail hearing, and I have to fill out like 15 different forms. And it was your income and all this other kind of stuff. Yeah. I had to fill out probation papers. I'm like, probation? I haven't even been convicted of anything yet. And you're making me fill out probation papers. How? And that's just at that level. At your level, the paperwork, the red tape has got to be unbelievable.
Yeah, and a lot of it, and I'm just going to cut to the chase. It's budgets. It's financing what we do. And let's just bring it up. Inspector General's office. They've been auditing us sheriffs for the last several months. There's all kinds of stuff at the State House. There's been articles in the newspapers and stuff like that. I will fight for Essex County all day long, and we run a tight ship. I gave you the recidivism rates, but I also have the lowest cost per inmate in the Commonwealth.
Oh, that's important.
Outside of DOC. Well, DOC is a different game anyway. Right. But of all the other sheriffs, I have the lowest cost per inmate. Nice. So our budget, is tight. We follow it, and I know again some of the newspapers are just painting us all with the same brush, which drives me crazy. Look at the individuals, jails and see what's going on. We, I think, are giving a good return on the dollar for the citizens, and we're giving good product to the inmates. And by the way, I know I kind of touched on it a little bit, but when you look at the programs we offer, the partnerships with Northern Essex Community College, Merrimack College, the clinical stuff with the social workers that we employ, as well as like Spectrum Health Services, and it's going to be the NFI is another one coming in July 1st, getting them in there, and all the vocational stuff we do. We're also keeping inmates busy, and they're busy. They're finally buying into the programs, but the side piece of this people tend to miss. It's like it keeps them out of trouble. And it keeps the correctional officers, it stops them from having to go hands-on when you get inmates that want to just, do something. They still fight like hell, and they're ready to kill each other half the time, so you still got to do that. But if they're busy and committed to the program stuff, it's a safer jail. And it's like I like to tell our staff, the correctional officers, I pay to control, not to fight. And your best weapon is your mouth.
Right.
And you get that going, you get the inmates, committed to the stuff, so we do it, and we're pushing people out. That's why the recidivism rates are
How do you, the only complaints I ever used to get about the sheriff's department, well, other than the corruption stuff from before, but the only other complaints that I used to get was from people that were complaining that the pretrial guys and the guys that are sentenced, so the people who are waiting to go to trial versus the people who have been sentenced to a prison, were not always separated the way they were supposed to be. How do you walk that line? How do you house two different types of populations? One, a group of people who aren't guilty of anything yet, they're just being held before their trial, and others who have been convicted of crimes that you're housing. A, how do you separate those? Because that seems like that would be a difficult task. And B, how do you identify what those problems are going to be?
Right now, it's easier than it was under my predecessor's time and even before that. And to give you some numbers, okay, when I came in here in January of 2017, the population was just shy of 1,500. Today, it's about 910, 920. So it's dropped substantially. Good. Back when the previous sheriff was there, you go back to the 90s, remember the war on drugs was raging everywhere. They had up to 1,800, 1,900 inmates in Middleton. That place was built for 550 in the early 1990s. Two sheriffs before me actually immediately double bunked the place. Ridden. And they were like jamming people in everywhere. Everywhere you could stick a bed. There was a gymnasium in there loaded with beds just to do it. So when you have that many people, you're what we call classification, and we can get into that in a minute, but you're classifying to bed space, not to sentenced or pretrial. Today, we dropped the recidivism rate has helped us drop the population. We have bed space. So to answer the question directly, you can't house a sentenced guy and a pretrial guy in the same cell. You can in the same housing unit, okay, but they can't technically cohabitate the same small living space. Right. You can send them together to a class, to a program class, or to an exercise, something like that. But they can't live together. But now we got space in there, so now we keep them. Do
the pretrial guys get more rights in jail? I mean, they're being held. They haven't been convicted of anything, but they're in the same unit as guys that have been convicted. It's kind of the same punishment. Do they get any special, like more phone calls, more emails, more time in the library, anything, more time in the yard? No, huh?
Phone calls, we can get into that later on. Phone calls is just bizarre, but so let's put that on the side for me. But everybody gets the same treatment. In fact, it's really the pretrial. I mean, the sentence guys get a little more time in programming because we know when they're going to leave.
I see.
So we get them set up in the programs. Programs open to everybody, but if a guy's comes in tonight and we go through all the the processing and the intake, all that stuff, and then we get him in a program next in August 1st or something like that, and next thing you know he's released on September 1st. There's nothing there. So right. We have upgraded the classification system about a year ago, maybe 15 months ago. So now you're classified based on why you're there, any personal issues. We talk mental health, substance use, any what your criminal history looks like, what your social, do you have family support, a whole checklist of things. And, of course, we're looking at violence. Mm-hmm. So now we classify by your individual background. So now that makes it a little bit easier to put people in there. So if you get somebody, whether it's pretrial or sentenced, they're following the rules, they're trying to work with us, and they're trying to better themselves, they get better housing.
I see.
And that way they get a little more freedom. They're still in jail, but they get a little more freedom.
You get air conditioning in that jail up in Middleton?
Finally, last year.
Because I remember a few years ago going to visit somebody up there.
Sweatbox. And
I could not. I'm like, even no prison. I don't care what you did. Nobody should have to struggle to breathe in a cell.
It was so bad, up till last year.
That's something to brag about if you decide to run again. That's something that you should brag about it, because I don't think people really understand. I went up there just to visit someone, and I could bail, and I was looking forward to leaving. I couldn't even imagine the guy that I was leaving behind. and it was just horrible.
We used to roll in these big bins of ice and put a commercial fan on it over it. That was air conditioning when I got there.
Oh my God!
And we worked with the state and
that's torture.
it was. I don't want to say it's inhumane, but it was damn near inhumane. And now everything's got AC.
We hear a lot of complaints. Not so much in the last year, but prior to last year, we got a lot of complaints from city councilors, people speaking at public meetings about sheriff's vans showing up in Lawrence, going downtown, and just dropping people off. We've heard it from city councils at election time. I don't know if they're just saying that. I've seen it a couple times, but I see the van dropping someone. I don't know why. I mean, maybe they're going to a program. But during the election in Lawrence, you seem to be a punching bag sometimes, or at least your department seems to be punching bags. They just drop them off in Lawrence, and these people are just running wild in the city, and that's why we have so much crime. So I thought, maybe I'll give them a chance to address that.
It's a catch-22. So if somebody gets sent to jail and nobody's picking them up, there's no friend or family going to show up in Middleton and, hey, give them a ride. What do you do with them? Do you kick them out? Let them walk down Manny Avenue and right on 62 and go wherever? So the procedure has been you bring them back to the court where they were sentenced from.
see.
So if it's Lawrence, Salem, Lynn, Newburyport, wherever it is, we'll technically give them a ride is what we're doing. It's closer to home. And just make them walk from Middleton to Lawrence or wherever it is. So we drive them back, hopefully usually during the day, and drop them off. And believe me, though, we do everything under our power to find a connection to get them someplace else. We don't want to drop them.
There's no housing program because we hear a lot of people, because I work with TMF, so we work with a lot of homeless addicts. Yeah. And many of them have said, I got out of jail, they just bring me back, and there was no effort to help me try and find housing. They wanted me to connect with family members who don't talk to me anymore because I burned all my bridges. I've stolen from my family. They don't want to take my call. So they bring me back to Lawrence, and it would be nice if there was some kind of a post-sentencing housing area where they could at least try and find a place of their own.
I would come back to that guy and said, what did you do when you're in the jail to help yourself with the programs?
Right.
So we have resources. We have a lot of resources that somebody's getting out, again, if they've got some kind of a need. Again, I keep going back to substance use disorders and mental health. We have a whole litany of partners where we can get housing for them. But the inmate's got to cooperate with us because he's got to show he's trying to better himself or herself with the women that are limited, and go through the programs, and we can drop them into these halfway houses someplace. Mm-hmm. But it's got to be done. We have a program. We started the case unit. Let me try that one.
Another acronym.
Clean and sober existence. I started this, years ago. I talked to Judge Chapman over in Salem District Court. He's a big advocate of it, though. This is something where, a person's got a substance use issue. He goes in front of he or she goes in the drug court, and they come in, and the judge says, pre-trial. He says, okay, we're going to send you to Middleton for 28 days. And voluntary. You're going to go in and you're going to concentrate on your sobriety, go to classes, listen to people, listen to the experts, try to change your brain and everything else, and then come back and see me. And then we do that, and there's no phone calls, there's no visits. They're in there just on their sobriety. And then if they successfully complete that, then we have a whole range of housing we can kind of get them into. Again, halfway housing. We send people to Boston housing that we have relationships with along at the North Shore. Nobody wants a halfway house in their yard. We get in their backyard. I get that. But there's already a lot of existing places, but we got to find the right fit based on that whole classification system I talked about briefly. It's very diverse, but we can hook people up with. But they got to come to jail and they got to participate. You come in and they say, I don't want to do anything. I'm going to sit and do my time. My hands are tied when they're going to go. What are we going to do with them?
Yeah.
Under your predecessor, we used to get complaints about family members would go and put money into the commissary, put money into their account, and the sheriff's department would take a piece of it. So I remember. I think I actually wrote a story about and I'm going to say his name, Sheriff Cousins, because he was one of the worst. But I think I even wrote a story at the time about a wife or a mother who had put $100 into her son's or husband's account, and the sheriff's department took $25 of it or $20 of it. And then when the prisoner goes to take the money out, they were taking a piece again. So they were taking a piece going in and a piece coming out. And I always thought that was kind of weird, and I don't know if that's still the case, but how does, if you have somebody, you can't control your loved ones. Everybody, I'm sure, has somebody in their life that they know that's either in prison or going to prison or been to prison. You want to go in, you want to help them, you want to put some money in their account so they can at least have some kind of amenities while they're there. What is that process now?
All right, so let's step back and let me tell you what the process was and what we did with it. So Let's go to the phone
I love
calls.
that he's got an answer for everything that you'll notice there's no equivocation here.
And I'm not hesitating. I'm not going to.
You get these state reps on, and they gotta hem and haw for 5 minutes before they answer the question.
This is a great question. All right, let's go back to the phone calls. All right, so when I got in there, inmates could make phone calls. They were on the wall, like a payphone, just two in a housing unit with 120 guys, so you got to share your time, and they paid for the phone calls. So that's people, family members would come in and would put money on their account, and they make the phone calls. Yes, the sheriffs took a percentage of that. I forget what the hell it was. It was like 43 cents a minute. It was high when I first got in there, and I forget what we took. But we took it adds up over a year.
Sure does, yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the year, the only thing we could use that money for was to put it into inmate programs. As a sheriff, I couldn't go out and buy a new car or some toy for the agency or buy uniforms or give somebody a raise. I had to dump it back into inmate programming. And then slowly the rates came down. And then free phone calls or taxpayer-funded phone calls, whatever you want to call it, came in, 3 years ago or so. And then, let me back up again. Tablets came in during COVID, which was necessary. We were one of the first ones in the state to have tablets, which it's great. They can make those calls, as I mentioned. They're controlled. They got to be pre-approved numbers. They can also do some of the programming. They can order commissary items like a bag of Doritos or ramen noodles or that stuff. And they can send us messages administratively. But on the phone calls, so the legislature passed a law a couple of years ago. So now we can't charge the inmates for the phone calls. They're free. So just Essex County alone, like in last year, those phone calls that are free cost me $1.6 million, which means it cost everybody, all the taxpayers, $1.6 million just in Essex.
Why does it cost money to make a phone call? Like I can make a phone call on my phone; it doesn't cost me anything.
Yeah, well, no, you're paying a monthly fee on that. Right.
Right.
So and they're all.
So every tablet, every
a
fee for each one.
Just like
I see.
Just like your personal phone.
Gotcha.
But now, back when they passed this law, they said we could not restrict the amount of time during the day that they could make phone calls. Back then, it was restricted how much money they had in their account.
Right.
So it's economics. Now they're free. So now they're on the calls all day long. Now the
keeps them out of trouble, though, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I'll get back to that in a
or
second.
maybe not.
Let me make another point.
I speak too soon.
Now we're getting phone calls from loved ones. Will you take the damn phone away from him? He's driving me crazy. He got nothing else to do. He's calling me. He's calling this. We're calling that. Crazy.
Before phones, like if you had a phone, you had a certain amount of minutes that you could use a year.
Right, you had to pay for
or
it.
a month or something like that. Now you have unlimited, so that makes sense.
And it's about 6-8 months ago, I think it was the Attorney General's office. It might have been the U.S. Attorney, but I think it was the state AG. They were doing an investigation and actually found a guy in Middleton on his tablet. He was engaged. He was continuing his criminal enterprise, as they say, with his phone, soliciting young girls into a human sex trafficking ring.
Yikes!
And they indicted him. It's like, okay, on phone calls, taxpayers are paying for. So that was part of it.
Can you monitor what they're doing? When there was a payphone, you could monitor it. We could monitor the same phone, right?
We control the numbers, like I said, so they can't just call anybody or the incoming calls. That's restricted, but we do monitor the calls. But this is another problem, and it's not a secret because the amount of calls just skyrocketed. We're talking over 1 million a year.
Sure.
So, how do you monitor that? It's got to be done through a computer, and we do have a service that watches that. So, if there's any certain, I'll say buzzwords, we're going to get an alarm and we're going to follow up.
They get smart though. They just use codes.
No, they do. But then the other piece of this too is just going back to your original question about money. The commissary stuff, we used to get a commission off the commissary too. Same restrictions. You've got to take that money, put it back into inmate programming. You can't use it for luxury items or toys or trips or whatever else you want to. So that's probably what whoever was asking those questions we're talking about. Mm-hmm. That's all gone. But now.
If I go in and I put $100 on my cousin's commissary, he gets the 100.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And, the only thing I can't give you a straight answer on is we don't control that. We subcontract it out through a private vendor, Aramark.
Okay.
So Aramark does all that. It's a private venture between you and Aramark if you're the inmate. So I don't think they do, but don't hold me to that. I had to go back and double check. But it's got nothing to do with us as the sheriff's department. It's part of the contract through the state bid system.
What's the one thing you think the public should know about what a sheriff's department does?
No, can I reword it?
Sure.
How can I, as a regular citizen, reach out to the sheriff's department for anything that I need?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, but that's a broad question. So
Okay.
what do you need? You can call our 800 number, and call up there if you want to find out somebody's in there. There's pre-recorded messages. You can tell if someone's in there. Our website, www.essexsheriffma.org. Lots of stuff.
I just want to give comfort to the female inmates who have nobody.
Well, don't forget, my females are all down the Cape.
I'm
I'm
traveling.
dead
to the
serious. Yeah, I know.
Cape. Wait a minute. Why are you shipping our female inmates down to the Cape?
We don't have a place here in Eastern Massachusetts for them.
Really?
So I have the pre-release center for women in Salisbury, the WIT, another acronym, Women in Transition, 24 beds. That's sentenced inmates. They go out to work every day. They get paid, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, there's another question you'll probably got asked. We do have work release, and we take them to work each and every day. And as we tell the prospective employers, I guarantee they will be there on time and they will not be late. And we will pick them up at night. And if they're not late, they're not coming back. We'll give you somebody else. But they get paid, and the money comes back through the sheriff's department through into a fund, because you're not going to give them money. They don't need money in jail. But when they're released, they get every ounce that they paid, every cent that they paid. Right. So that's it. But going back to your question, again,
any problem that I can have, and I don't know if I can go to the police department or if I can go to the courts, or if I can go to the sheriff, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of tough. You're better off calling your local police, because 90% of those questions are police related or town or city related. Ours are more like if you got somebody in there and they want to understand, okay, my loved one's coming in and Jesus, he's talking about committing suicide a month ago. You should be calling us. Okay. He's got this problem, he's got that problem, or whatever it is. Bring that information to us, because sometimes these guys aren't 100% honest with us. We have caseworkers assigned to every inmate coming in, and they're the people. If you made that phone call about an individual, we can connect you with that caseworker, and that will give all the information. But I started to say, on our website, again, essexsheriffma.org, our annual report's there. That pretty much gives you a quick summary of every different unit we have. It's about that thick. There's some pictures in there. There's all kinds of good stats, but it's good information for people to read. Yeah, you could say if you can't sleep at night and you want to open up at 3 a.m., you'll probably be asleep by 3:05. But it's in there. People want to read it, and it's all over the website.
What kind of public information as a reporter?
Who is Joe McGowan?
McGowan. Joe McGowan's our legislative liaison. He's the guy at the State House that does a lot of the any bills we need or any funding.
This is a funny show too, Sheriff. Yeah. But he looks like Putin from.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, right? From Russia. Yeah. Watch him.
As a reporter, I'm always interested in what access to information that I have from my government, whatever branch it is. Is someone's criminal record with you, their parole, whether they're on probation? In other words, if I wanted to know if maybe somebody decides they want to run for office in Lawrence, they take out papers, they're going to run for city council, and somebody says to me, yeah, that guy's on probation. Can I just call the sheriff's department or submit a public record and say, hey, is Jim Smith on probation? Is Jim Smith on parole with you guys? Did Jim Smith just get out of jail?
You can't call us.
No?
We can't release it. We'll tell you if Jim Smith's in the jail.
If he's being housed now.
If he's being housed now.
But not if he used to be.
No, I can't, because that's a violation of Corey.
Wow.
Criminal offender record information.
But I thought that was I thought the whole Corey thing was so that we could get more information.
Well, yes and no, but I'm talking about sheriffs. I don't know if you're on probation, because if you're okay, let's just say you come in here, you come into Middleton and you do 30 days and you're out. Okay, then you go back to court for something else. I don't know what you're doing once you're in the jail. If you're in and out of the courthouse and the courthouse got a separate offense on you and they put you on probation for 6 months, we don't get notified.
So you don't run the probation department. The court,
right.
The court runs the probation department. Okay,
exactly.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but you do run parole.
No,
that also goes through the courts.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
even I'm learning something, and this is like my business.
Yeah.
This is why a show like this I think is important. I think some of my favorite shows are the shows like we did with Francisco Polino, where we learned. That guy's an expert at public education. Who knew? I never no idea that he was that good at it. And I served on a school committee for 3 years. I've been studying schools forever, and he was teaching me stuff I had no idea, the funding formulas. And so I think shows like this are really important. Yeah. I think it's important for you because you don't have really the vehicle to explain to the public and get out to the public what you do and why you do it, like a state rep would, because they run every 2 years.
Yes.
So they're constantly out there. Senators are out there. Every 2 years, they're constantly out there. But a sheriff and a DA goes 6 years. DA goes 6, right?
4.
4. So he goes 4, you go 6. So people don't tend to think about you again. They don't tend to see you until it's time to run again. Yeah. And so I think these things are very educational. Do you have like a library? Do you have like a do the prisons have access to study material, college classes, GED?
Do you take donations from people, like books? I don't know how that works.
Let me give you the big picture with the programs for a second. All right, stay on the library. Well, we have a library inside the jail. A lot of donated books over the years, and so we have a big space, and It's probably about as big as this room here that we're filming in, and there's shelves full of books. A lot of now stuff on the computer, stuff like that. So the inmates can also access law libraries, and we do that through computers. They have computers in the library itself under supervision of one of our staff employees, just to show them how to do it and whatever. Because a lot of them they represent themselves in court, so that's all there. So let's go to programs for a second. I mentioned some of the programs earlier when they come in. The clinical stuff, we got guys, who Spectrum Health Services, who's soon going to be NFI and other health care, mental health care. So programs like anger management, conflict resolution, how to be a mother. Do
any of those work though? I mean, I'm a little cynical when it comes to, you're telling somebody don't bully, and they're going to go, oh, I had no idea that was a bad thing, and they just stop bullying. Like I'm a little cynical when it comes to those kind of things. Convince me.
You can be cynical, Tom, and I can't say I disagree with you, but I'm going to argue you can't count what you prevent. You don't know what you prevent.
Fair enough.
And I will argue the recidivism rate is down.
Okay.
So it's down because a lot of stuff that we're not the saving grace of all the problems of the society, mind you, but we're a piece of it. And because of what we've been doing, it's helped push that recidivism rate down, and that's a big part of it because we got so many of these clinical things, and you get guys coming out of it, and they're actually, at least while they're still with us going out the door, they're engaged. I'll give you another example. Back when I ran last time, was it 2022? I'm in Lynn, standing outside of a house on the corner of Essex and Easton and Western Avenue, holding a sign with half a dozen friends, and there we go, the Coppinger for sheriff, waving, kissing babies, all that good stuff. Guy comes out of the house. He goes, "Are you the sheriff?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You used to be my landlord." I'm like, I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't own any property. I mean, I got my house. I don't own any investment property or rental or any of that stuff. He goes, "No, I was in your jail." He said, he has a woman problem, so he had a lot of domestic stuff, so we won't go into that. But he goes, "You saved my life." I'm like, "Oh, I got to hear this story." So he went into one of our programs for alcoholics, and he did that, and he said, "I haven't had a drink in 3 years." He says, and I'm going to give the credit to the people that work for you inside the jail. So that's it. So that's one thing we do with all those different programs. The educational piece is huge. Northern Essex Community College has a contract. Merrimack College, smaller contract. They both come in every day. They're in teaching our inmates. We did about 1,300 guys went through a program in Middleton last year, some type of a piece of education. We do graduation ceremonies for high set, the high school equivalency. We give them the cap and gown, the whole 9 yards, and we play the pomp and circumstance coming in. We do a big ceremony. And it might sound corny again, but you're looking at these guys going, really? But in a jail, you're going to come in there. And they are. They're coming in, they're thrilled. And they're getting rounds of applause from the guys who haven't graduated yet. Right. And we give out all kinds of certificates for other different levels of what they do. Northern Essex does college-level classes. Let's turn over to vocations for a minute, vocational training. We just opened up a brand new plumbing program up here at the farm. This is huge. We got a grant. We love grant free money. Volunteers of America, one of the groups we work with, so we partnered up with them. We're actually going to graduate our first cohort next week, 11 guys.
Send me that story. I would love to publish that.
Oh, you're going to love it. We took an old building out back. It was the boiler room at the farm. And it's been gutted for years. It's empty. So we just rough framed it inside like a new construction. The inmates, we hired an instructor out of one of the tech schools over in Wakefield, Northeast Volk. He comes in, I think it's 120 hours in the classroom, then 40 hours actually in the field, which is the boiler room. They're not off-site. They learn how to plumb right from the main coming in the building. They plumb a water heater, sinks, toilets, showers, you name it, and it's from the rough plumbing right to the faucet, turn it on. It's so amazing that one guy passed up on parole to stay in jail.
I don't believe that for a minute.
No. You'll
Correction says yes, so I believe you.
Yeah, he came in, and now granted, it's only for a couple of weeks.
Right.
And we're not going to cheat the guy. We want to get rid of him too. But he came in. He stayed to get his certification. And the grant we have, they're going to get level 1 certification for plumber. From what I've learned is it takes you 5 certifications to be able to go out and do on your own. So he's got a level 1 certification coming out of jail. The grant pays for a bag of basic plumber's tools. Okay. Because the instructor will tell you, you show up on a contract site with a plumber, you don't have any plumber's tools, you're out. Right. No one's going to give you the time of day. But this kid wanted to stay, and he's graduating next week, and then he's going to be off and running on a growing up as the rest of the food chain to get his full certification.
Yeah, vocational training is, I think, even way more important than a college degree today.
Oh, lately.
Yeah, sure.
Have you ever tried to hire a plumber?
Yes, unfortunately.
They told me the other day that there are more doctors than there are plumbers in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And do you ever try to make a doctor's appointment? You got to wait like 6-8 months in advance.
Yep.
It's amazing. But on top of the plumbing, we also have the hardscape that we've done. It's a lot of stuff, which is landscape masonry, walls, fountains, block work. On people's properties. We've done stuff for the city of Lawrence on their common area around City Hall. We've done some stuff. We've done stuff in front of the jail and stuff like that. The guys love it because they come out, again, they're learning a skill when they get released. The landscapers are scooping them up right away because they know how to build all
Well,
these
what a
things.
great idea, because one of the biggest problems that any jail has is people coming back because they get out and they have no skill. You teach them a skill, they're going to go make money, they're going to be able to pay for an apartment, they're not going to come back.
There you go.
You know?
That's it in a nutshell.
I have one more question, and I know you have to go. And the only question that I didn't get to that I have in my notes is, it's got to be tough, and I'm interested in how you handle it. When you have, I interviewed a gangbanger about 5 years ago for a story, and he said, I don't care if the cops arrest me because I'm more free in the jail. I have more cohorts in the jail. We have more freedom in the jail than we feel like we have out here. My buddies are all in there. How do you deal with the gang violence and the gang affiliations behind bars when this is where they feel most comfortable? This is where some of them even just want to be. Like, there are guys that have told me that they reoffend. We have a guy that comes to TMF that purposely reoffends when it starts getting cold because he wants to have a place to live.
Yeah. Great question, and I'm going to say that's back in the day.
Okay.
Again, remember I said earlier we classified by bed space? That's what we had to do because we didn't have any system. We didn't have the room to do it, and you could be sitting next to a rival gang member in a bed in a gymnasium. We've revamped everything. We keep the Bloods and the Crips, without getting to the subsets. We keep them separate, and we're on top of it. And we also communicate with local police all throughout the county and the state. Because even instances where there's gangs in Lawrence, there's gangs a lot in most of the cities, but we could have a problem with Lynn gangs and Lawrence gangs, out in the street doing crazy stuff. But when they get to jail, it's worse because they're all somewhat confined in the same area.
Right.
So we got to separate them in housing, separate them in programming, separating them. Let me try that one again. Go into the chow hall. We got to keep them out of the way from each other. And then when you start getting some of these gang members, we have a special investigations unit with a bunch of obviously trained criminal investigators that work for us in the jail, and they monitor a lot of the stuff that these guys do. And so if we see they're trying to create another criminal operation inside, even just trying to recruit new members to their particular gang, we will shut it down. We will move people around so they're not together. Years ago,
how do you identify them, though? I mean, it must be hard because I'm talking to this gangbanger, and until he told me he was a gang, I had no idea.
Yeah. You can get it. We share information with local police, and they share with us, and then you just talk to them. A lot of them will admit because it's a badge of honor or whatever you want to call it.
They're bragging.
It's a pride, yeah. And then and we know they're there, and it's like, okay, fine. And then you don't forget, you got 120 guys living in housing, and you got correctional officers in those housing units 24/7. They're the source of information. They know everybody. They know who's friendly with who, or who's got this, that, and the other thing going on. And there's all kinds of shenanigans go on inside the jail. They're not a bunch of altar boys. Let me tell you that. So you got to just kind of watch what they're doing.
Right.
Correctional officers talk to the investigators. They share information. We got a decent read on stuff. We're not perfect, but we got enough of a read.
What's your discipline rate? I know I said you guys.
Wait, I need a business card before he leaves.
Okay.
Because I think I need to tell him stuff that I
Okay,
know.
all right.
That information.
What was I just going to say?
Disciplinary rate?
Yeah. Well, so we saw that under the previous two sheriffs.
Yeah.
That there was an awful lot of guys that were working there that were we had sleeping with inmates, smuggling things into the jail. We actually have a kid that we're working with now at TMF who worked at not one of your prisons but a different prison, who was convicted of smuggling stuff in, and as part of his public service toward the end of his sentence, he's now working with TMF, and he's the nicest kid in the world. But I have to wonder, you're dealing with guys that kind of think that they're cops when they're not, right? They're wearing a badge, so it goes to your head. A lot of guys with egos. They're in charge of people that are prisoners, so there's the whole dominance thing going on. And then you've got the corruption. You've got people that it's very profitable to sneak something into a jail. I don't really read a lot of stories in the press about Essex County Sheriff employees now becoming housed there.
Yeah.
How do you A, how do you deal with it, and B,
Well, maybe they don't
how do
share
you,
it.
how
They
do you
don't
keep it
share
out
it.
of the press?
Yeah.
Well, no, you can't keep anything out of the press. Going back to my police days, I used to say in any law enforcement agency, there's more leaks than the Titanic. Don't think something's going to going to stay in house. It's not going to leak out. It's going to leak out someplace. But to go back to your question, so when I got up there, one of the first things I did is I had to set the tone of the administration. It's like, if you're corrupt, if you're going to start to smuggle drugs into these guys or get close to them or compromise yourself or corruption, you're done. You're gone. There's no question about it, nothing. We have a good internal affairs team in there of outside people, former law enforcement officers, but outside people who come in and investigate, highly trained, and they're continuously getting trained. And we have policy procedures you got to follow through. Now, this is probably 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. We had some information. One of our correctional officers we call it lugging, bringing stuff in. And we work with the DEA and then Homeland Security at the time. We had some information. It was Veterans Day, and he works the 11 to 7 shift. We knew he was coming in. We suspect he was coming in as we call hot. I was there with a couple of the superintendents, and he walked in. We took him in the back room saying, "What's up?" And he gave us a bunch of Suboxone, cigarettes, a phone, SIM cards from phones, a bunch of stuff. And the feds indicted him, and off he went to the feds. But we actually have a program. I never figured out this title of the program. It's called Downing the Duck. And that's one of the programs. Everybody that works at the jail, whether you're a sworn officer, a civilian, or a contract vendor, anybody, you got to go through a week's worth of training, and you get the Downing the Duck, which means you can't get close relationships with inmates. Because they're smart.
Yeah, they'll manipulate you.
They'll manipulate you, yeah. And they'll say, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Tom, you want a bottle of, this stuff like this or whatever. They'll try to, kind of kiss your butt. And then once they cross that line, you cross the line with them, they got you. And then they're going to start bringing stuff in. But we're always on top of how much contraband gets in that jail. We've taken steps with mail. We shut mail off years ago just because it was coming in through the mail, Suboxone strips. A Suboxone strip, if you're not familiar with it, it's like those films. You go to CVS and get a teeth whitening strip.
Yeah.
On the street, you can buy that probably $5. Inside the jail, it's worth $200.
Wow.
You don't have to
to get their teeth white?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I left out the word, the biggest part. Suboxone. Now, Suboxone
It's like fentanyl.
Oh.
Yeah. Suboxone is part of the medication-assisted treatment we give to inmates who are hooked on fentanyl or heroin or any of the opiates.
Okay.
Suboxone and methadone are different places. We could be on it right now, and you'd never know it. It gives you a maintenance high, so you can always, if you stay with the regimen that the doctor set you up on, you can successfully navigate a regular day. And
so you can soak a piece of paper. You can soak a piece of paper in it, and then write a letter to somebody, and then mail it to them, and then they can take that piece of paper, and they can extract it out by distilling it or however they do it.
That's so creative.
That's K2. Liquid K2 is what Tom's talking about. So you take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, which copy machine or you buy at Staples.
Regular paper.
Yeah, you can buy that on the internet. $8,000 a sheet.
Wow.
They send it into jail, cut it up, smoke it, and they sell it and make a fortune. So my point was, we stopped this stuff coming in years ago. It goes down to an outside facility. They under controlled conditions, they purge it, they copy it, and then they send it to their tablets. Electronically send it to their tablets so they have everything. We're working on a program now with the Public Defenders Association, believe it or not, the Committee for Public Counsel Services, because once we did that, inmates being innovative. What's the word? Innovative. Now they're sending it under fake legal mail. So I can't open legal mail. So now we got a system where we're bringing it in, and the lawyers will send everything electronically to us. We have a kiosk set up inside the jail. Inmate comes down with their personal ID. They can download all the stuff. We can't look at it, and it's.
Can you say that one more time? That touching other people's mail is illegal?
Legal mail.
Oh. Okay.
So if they get mail from a lawyer,
it's part of their defense in the case.
Okay.
We can't look at it.
They can't look at it
by law.
But by law, no one's supposed to touch except in jail, but outside.
Regular mail, we can look at it all day long.
Oh, you can?
Regular mail, in and out.
But if it's legal, it has to do with their case. They have to have privacy for that.
Okay.
Yes, 100%. So
last question.
Yep,
Do you have you have female officers? You have female?
Lots
Oh
of
my
them.
God.
Lots of them. Lots of them.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I love them. They're great. I was a little surprised. I dealt with female officers on the street when I was a cop, and I was like, but I tell you, they're wonderful. And sometimes.
Oh yeah, they're wonderful.
No, like Tom, a few years ago I dropped the requirement for correctional officers from 21 to 19. People told me I was crazy because these kids aren't.
I was
mature.
one of them.
Yeah, well, I've got some 19-year-olds who are awesome. I've got some that washed out. They said the 19-year-olds are immature. I got 40-year-old guys working for me that are immature.
My 12-year-old is more mature than Tom is sometimes.
That's true.
There you go. Yeah,
That's very true.
But the females, there's.
You don't see a problem having a female officer with all these male inmates. You don't see that as a problem.
I knew it.
It hardens the woman, and I give them a lot of credit. They see stuff that's bizarre.
That's torture. Can you imagine being a dude on a sex offense in prison and some hot 19-year-olds walking by as your That's cruel and unusual punishment. I'm talking to the governor about that one. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, but it's personal choice, and everybody wants to have freedom of this. But they're not forced to there.
Right.
They want the job. They come in. They're trained the same way as the guys are, and and it's a bid system.
I mean, I'm half joking, but it does seem like that would cause a lot more problems than you need.
As I started to say,
you haven't had that experience?
When I was a young cop, I was worried about the women and even the male cops, because when I first got on the police department, there were like 3 women. They were there. They were like police women. They did juvenile cases. They didn't do street work. And we came in with a lot of women. It was like, and of course the men, we got that macho crapple that we have sometimes, and they're like, we're going to protect the woman, female officer. And finally, they were getting bullshit at us. I probably shouldn't swear, but I did. And it's like, and then you finally they hold their own. They do. And then in the jail, they do a wonderful job. So it's like I can't rip them apart.
I know what Tom means. Like, there's women that have fallen in love with like inmates, and they try to get them out, that sort of thing. So that makes sense.
We've had problems with those, and with some of the vendors, some of the other because we have doctors and nurses and people serving food and all the social workers I mentioned before. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens with staff, but that's why we try to stay on top of it so much. And we have ways to monitor all that stuff just by observations.
Right. I'm going to let you go. It's 20:03. I know you've got somewhere to be. I appreciate that you've given us as much time as you can. I'd love to have
some final words if he wants to say
anything. And I'd love to have you back. I think we could do a 2-hour show and still not be able to get to all the material.
100%.
And I have to say, and I don't say this to everybody because I'm sure you watch my show, this has been a fascinating show. This is probably as fascinating as having Francisco Polino here a few weeks ago. And I'd love to have you come back, but I'd also love to just have lunch with you and just pick your brain off the record, just to hang out on the deck at Salvatore's for a couple of hours and just talk about stuff, right?
Especially the good weather's coming. It'll be a nice time to be on the deck. Absolutely, Tom. Do it. Yeah. Sounds good.
Right, good to see you. Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you to Gretchen. Yeah. And by the way, if you ever need, I'm semi-retired, right? I do my own newspaper. So if you ever need somebody to do writing, not press writing like she does, but if you ever need to contract with somebody that does what I do, I'd be happy to help you guys out.
Okay.
I don't say that to really any politician because I don't really want to work with any other
politicians. Something going on with you lately? You've been wanting to help a lot lately. Is everything okay?
I'm an old man trying to get into heaven now.
As long as he's not working in-house, which I mean he's not living with us.
You don't want me there.
Part of that.
No, you don't want me there.
We'll consider the other thing.
You don't even want me on site. I want to work from home. That's going to work much better.
I appreciate it,
But
Tom.
thank you. Any final words you want to leave people with? How do they get in touch with you if they have any?
What am I looking at? What?
The camera's right there.
Oh, yeah. No, I just want to say thank you. I know. I was going to give you a little announcement here.
I'll take an announcement, too.
No, everybody keeps asking. I have a 6-year term. This is year 4. But I am running for re-election in 2 years.
Excellent. Breaking news.
Breaking news. I love the job, and we've done some – I'm going to give the staff credit. I can sit as sheriff. I can take all the credit, or I get all the negative. But it's like I got great people that work for us. So the folks that work with me, kudos to them. I'm riding the wave of their successes, and I want to continue it. We have some other ideas for better things down the future, down the road in the future. But I enjoy the job. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy doing stuff like this and getting out there and getting the message out. Because we've got a great county. We got 850,000 people, but again, a lot of them don't know what we do. I want to share that information and let them know what's going on. And because you're paying my salary, you're paying the salary of our staff with your
when
tax
you come
dollars.
back, my first question is going to be: if you get reelected, what are you going to do? Because you've laid out a pretty good game plan of what you've done.
Yep.
And so, I'd like to see what your vision is for the future.
Love to do it.
But I appreciate you being here,
All
Sheriff.
right, so much.
And by the way, thank you for coming every year to my bash, even though you don't always get to speak.
Yep.
And you've never asked to speak, and you've never asked to come up on stage. So,
I'll get you election year, though.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to give an award to one of your offices next year.
That's awesome.
Next March 28th. So
we'll get you a good
we'd love to have
candidate.
you back. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank
all
you,
right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
And thank Gretchen for booking this,
Thank
sure.
you, Gretchen. Nice to meet you.
And then maybe someday next week we'll hang out on the deck at Sal's, now that it's nice. Huh? Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. All right, very good. The colors on the screen here are a little bit more, I'm looking at a screen that I think they have the saturation really high. It looks like I'm wearing Lipstick. Words, Tom. All right, so we had a bunch of stuff going on over the last week. I want to thank the sheriff for being here, Sheriff Coppinger. I alluded to it when he was here, and I didn't really want to go into too much detail, but he was supposed to be our keynote speaker at the Bash the year that Jim Jajuga sued me. And the front page story hit the Wednesday before the Bash because the Tribune was trying to screw me. And the Tribune wrote this story on the front page that made me look like I was some out-of-control, reckless guy that made crazy accusations. Of course, all of it turned out to be true. But
Stop.
But no, I mean, what I was alleging turned out to be true.
Yeah.
And so because they had the story for a month, but they purposely held it and dropped it the Wednesday before the Friday night Bash. And the sheriff was supposed to be our keynote speaker. And the police chief in Methuen and the fire chief in Methuen both had bought 5 tables each. And that night I showed up, and the sheriff ended up not coming because he was afraid. Everybody was afraid. He's getting sued by Jajuga, and everybody's afraid of Jajuga, and nobody wants to run afoul of that guy. And so he ended up not coming, and I was really mad at him for not coming. Not just for not coming, but for, not coming last minute.
He's a very nice gentleman. I was
Yeah,
really
he seems really nice.
He's not scary at all. Like, he's kind.
But when it was over,
he's easy to talk to.
Yeah, when it was over, he called me like a week later, and he said, "Listen, Tom, I feel really bad, but I just didn't want to be in the middle of it. I wasn't taking sides. I just didn't want to be in the middle of it because I have a very volatile job, and I can't be seen taking sides between two guys that I like." The following year, he was the first guy in the door. The following year, he was the very first guy to show up.
Well, he just committed to next year. So.
Yeah, and he's come every year, and he has not always had a chance to speak. And it's very interesting because there are certain people, and I'm not going to mention names because it's not about shaming anybody, but just to give you guys the dynamic of what I deal with on this end of things, is that every year at the Bash, there's 1 or 2 politicians who don't give to the scholarships. They don't help us set up. They don't help us prepare. They don't sponsor.
They come right in.
They don't pay at the door. Right. They don't pay at the door. And then they walk in, and then they sit there, and they stare at me like they want me to recognize them in the room. And so every year, at least 1 or 2 politicians will come over to me halfway through the night and go, "Geez, you haven't mentioned that I'm here." And I'm like, "Well, did you give a money to our scholarship kids? No. Did you sponsor No. Did you pay at the door? No. Why would I? What?
When these people are out of office, you need to say who it was because I'm dying to know who is not paying at the door. Come on, $50 or $60, whatever.
You know who it is.
I don't.
You know who it is.
Oh,
we
God.
fight about him all the time. Yes, that's him. But there's always others too, and it's kind of the height of arrogance. I've talked about it on the show before. I'll be hanging out with, and this is kind of a little separate, but it's the same type of thing. I'll be hanging out with Pavel and Stephanie Fonte and Estella Reyes because they all kind of cluster. They all go to all the same events together. Frank Moran and Ryan Hamilton. We'll all be somewhere, and Pavel will say, "Oh, look, we got to go to a fundraiser in an hour. Do you guys all want to go together?" So we'll all show up together. We all walk into 11 Restaurant for somebody's fundraiser. We all arrived at the same time. We all walked in together, and then Pavel gets up at the microphone and announces everybody in the room that walked in together. We all know each other. We came together.
Why does it matter?
But for some reason, these politicians, and I'm just using Pavel as an example. We love Pavel, so I'm not picking on him. But all these politicians, the state reps, the state senators, the city councilors, the mayors, they all think that they need to be announced in every. They're so important.
You only see that in Lawrence, though. I'm sorry to say.
No, Methuen too.
No. I see that more in Lawrence than anywhere else. There's a whole bunch of events all the time for all these nonprofits, all these programs, all these different things, and everyone needs to get introduced. It takes like 30 minutes of the freaking program just to introduce these people. Who freaking cares?
Right.
Get to the point. If we're here to raise money for kids, focus on the kids. Why are we introducing these people?
Right. And you know what's really annoying is they announce every elected official in the room, and then they start announcing former elected officials. Oh, former state rep and former mayor and former senator, and I'm like, well, if you're going to do that, I was on the school committee. You've been damn well better fucking announce me. And by the time you're done, you've announced every single person in the room who I want to reiterate walked in together. We all know who each other are. So at my bash, nobody gets introduced and nobody gets a shout out at the microphone. Unless you contributed. If you contributed, I'm happy to give you all the love in the world. I'm happy to give you a microphone. I'm happy to have you on stage. If you didn't, I'm not going. You can take all the pictures you want, but I'm not going to announce you because whether it's my bash or someone else's event, the people that get announced should be the people that contributed. That's the way it should work. And what happens is these politicians get this false sense of importance, and they become drunk on their own sense of self-importance. And then they start to expect it. And then when you don't, they get offended. And it's like, well, why should I? Like, we had a certain school board member show up last year who harassed me all night, like, you didn't call me up to get in the pictures. And I'm like, well, write me a check for $100 for my scholarship, kids, and I'll bring you right up now. Oh, well, no. Well, they stop complaining.
I was at a concert on Saturday night in Pez Dorado, and the girl that was there, I like her, everything. She doesn't know, but she works for the radio, and, like, she gave me a shout-out. She's like, oh, I'm Carlota from the Mega. I'm like, why would you do that? We're here on a concert. I'm like, I don't want nobody to know that I'm here. I don't care. Like, who am I? These people are probably like, who cares?
I will say that I am flattered when I go to an event and I get introduced, because I'm not a politician. Listen, I'm not a politician. I'm not there to be introduced. I've never once asked to be introduced. But every once in a while I'll be, well, where was I? I was at the mayor's fundraiser last week at Salvatore's. And the mayor got up and said, by the way, we've announced all the politicians in the room, but we didn't introduce Tommy Duggan, who has done a lot for the community, blah, blah. He raised money for scholarships, owner of the Valley Patriot. And it was interesting to look around the room to see who did and who didn't applaud. That was kind of fun.
Everywhere that you go, though, like all the events that you go in Lawrence for any political whatever, they always give you a shout out. Gregory's, they did too. They actually had you. He called
Gregory
you up.
asked me to introduce him.
Yeah, he called you up to come introduce him. It was hilarious.
So I get up and there's the police chief, the fire chief, a state senator, 2 state senators, 2 state reps, the mayor, and Milagros Dominguez, of all people, comes over and says, Gregory wants you to introduce him. So she gets up and she calls them all up, and now they're all standing up on the stage. And then, of all people, because she and I have kind of a checkered past, she gets up and she says, and the guy, and she was very nice about it. She was very glowing in her introduction, which was, again, very surprising. I give her a lot of credit.
She trashed me on her show recently.
Did she really?
Go ahead, yeah.
And then and now Tom Duggan from the publisher of the Valley Patriot. So now I get up. You took a picture.
Yeah.
And I looked at the picture afterwards, and I went, how funny is this? I'm at the microphone introducing Greg because I love Greg. I want him to get elected to anything he runs for. And behind me are all the people who are actually important. The senators, the police chief, the fire chief, the mayor. I got the mayor standing behind me. I'm like, this doesn't seem right.
The speech that you gave was the funniest. You said, oh, so I ran for office as a joke.
Right.
I'm looking in the back. I'm like, Tom, maybe this is not the space.
The first time I ran for office, it was a joke. It was a joke. I was 8, for those of you who don't know, I was 18 years old. I was a high school senior, and there was a fist fight at a school committee meeting. And it was Bill Calgy and Carol Bannon. Now, Bill Calgy was all about 350 pounds. Carol Bannon was maybe 70 pounds soaking wet. She came across 3 people and threw a punch at him. And the 2 of them brawled. I mean, it was like at a public open, on television, public cable access. So the headline the next day was about the fight, and then the headline the following day was that there were like 18 people running for city council, but nobody running for school committee. So my thought was, you know what, I'm going to have fun with this. I'm going to take out papers, I'm going to run, and my campaign slogan is going to be Tom Duggan, he'll bring maturity to the school board. And I thought I'd get 3 votes, and then I would just move on with my life. Well, here we are 40-something years later, right? And I'm still very involved in politics. So I did tell that story when I was introducing Greg. Greg's a good guy. I like Greg a lot. I hope he gets elected to anything. Although he's going to run against Jorge Jaime. I think they're both going to run for mayor. And then I don't know what to do, because Jorge would make a great mayor too. And I really hope the 2 of them can get together.
Jorge speaks English?
Yeah, Jorge speaks really well. Really well he speaks.
He does?
Yeah. Yeah, I talk to him all the time.
Gregory's my guy.
Gregory's the best.
He's the guy.
Gregory's the absolute best. He fought for TMF. And here's the thing about Gregory, and I can't say this about many other politicians. I'll certainly say it about Stephanie, but I can't say it about many others, is Gregory is very loyal.
Yeah, he is.
And he's not just loyal when it benefits him. He's loyal when he has taken hits. Yeah. I have seen him take hits for being loyal to people when he very easily could have just washed his hand and walked away and said, like our last guest, hey, I don't want to get involved. And no one would hold that against him, because you're taking on somebody else's war. Nobody wants to take on somebody else's war. Yeah. But Gregory does. Gregory will step forward and go, oh, you think Tom Duggan's an asshole? Well, I think you're an asshole.
Yeah. He's very, he sticks to his word.
Yep.
That's what you want to say. Like, he
100%.
gives you his word. He sticks
now,
to
they've got
it.
an event tonight at Sisu, is having their yearly event over at Salvatore's. I'm going to try to make it. I don't know that I can, because I just got invited like today. But we do have something in the news I want to end with. So we've been on. Oh, we still have plenty of time, but I'm not going to use it all. I'm not going to use it all. But we didn't start till 20 past 2. Diana DiZoglio, boy, I'll tell you, this is something that half of me wants to stay away from this because I have a really good relationship with literally everybody involved in this scandal. But it is a scandal, and it's a scandal of monumental proportions. And what Diana is starting to find out, and I know she doesn't want to hear it, and I've said it to her privately, I've said it on Facebook, I've said it publicly. What Diana doesn't seem to get, or at least she doesn't want to admit out loud, maybe she gets it, but she will certainly not admit it, is that she's the Donald Trump of Massachusetts. And I know that pisses off every Democrat because they're all emotionally stunted. They all get triggered by Donald Trump. Everything Donald Trump, it triggers them. It makes them crazy. And he's evil. He's the Antichrist. Blah blah blah. He's none of those things. But the reason that they hate Donald Trump, the reason why the core base of the Democrat Party hates Donald Trump, is because he wants to hold them just as accountable as he holds other people. And Diana is now trying to hold her party accountable for the money that they spend, for the taxpayers' money that they spend. And what people I don't think they seem to understand, I heard a couple of state reps say, she wants to audit the legislature. That's the issue at hand. And I heard many state reps say, if you ask the average person, they don't even understand what they voted for. Well, we voted on the ballot. Ballot measure, I think it was ballot measure number 1 won by 73%, 72%. And the reps are so fucking arrogant that they get up there and they say, I don't think people understood what they voted for. They're partially right, but being partially right about that does not mean that we shouldn't get what we voted for. Is it true that they don't know the details of what they voted for? Yeah, I bet if you ask most people, they wouldn't understand that she's not trying to audit the money that the legislature spends on state police or transportation or DCF or family court. What she's trying to audit is the money that they spend on themselves. And one of the things, when I wrote the state's public records law back in 2014, it died in 2014. I reintroduced it in 2015. Then I reintroduced it and it died again in committee. And then I reintroduced it in 2016. But in 2016, when I submitted the new language for the public records bill, I got a little smart. I learned from the first 2 defeats that we had in 2014 and 15. And I went to the movers and shakers on the left. I went to Jamie Eldridge, who is so liberal that he's a card-carrying member of the Communist Party and thinks Elizabeth Warren is too conservative. All right? That's who Jamie Eldridge is. He's a dyed-in-the-wool communist.
That last name sounds familiar.
Well, because we know Chris Eldridge, so it's from the Bash, right?
Where is he?
He's mad at me. I'll tell you that story later.
That's private.
So I went to Jamie Eldridge, and I went to some of the woke left-wingers who think that I'm Hitler because I support Donald Trump, even though I've supported a million Democrats since then. And I said, the only way this is going to work if I have your support. And they didn't want to work with me because I'm a conservative. But the ones that agreed to sit down with me, and that would have been Mariano at the time, I think. I'm pretty sure Jamie Eldridge. There was a female state senator, I can't remember her name, but she was really, really, really left-wing. Even I think Barbara L'Italian, who was, again, another left-wing lunatic. And when we were able to sit in a room and they could put aside the fact that I'm a conservative, I was a Republican at the time, I'm not anymore. And I was able to explain to them why I wanted to do what I did, what I was doing, they all agreed. In fact, Jamie Eldridge, when I made my proposal, Jamie Eldridge, who is just the most liberal anti-American creep in the world, but he and I sat down and we had an incredibly productive conversation where he said, you know, Tom, one of the things that we can do with this public records law when you rewrite it is I'm going to make an amendment, and my amendment is going to be that all municipalities have to put all of their financial documents online within 90 days. So every budget that they pass, every department budget that they pass, every appropriation that they do, they have to put them online. So you don't have to fill out a public records request. You don't have to go to the city clerk and say, I want copies of these documents. They're already online. And I was like, oh my God, what a great way to subvert the insiders who don't want us to have the documents, force them to make them public so we don't even have to go through them to get it. So we worked extremely well together. He ended up co-sponsoring. Tom Duggan and Jamie Eldridge. Can you believe that? Can you believe that?
I don't know who that is. So.
Well, he's the most left-wing Democrat communist in the state Senate in Massachusetts.
There's no communist in Massachusetts.
Oh no, he's an absolute communist. Like
okay.
he practically admits that he's a communist. So when it got to the House, the first thing that the House did with my 2016 public records bill was they exempted themselves. And what that means is if I wanted to get the emails of Adrian Ramos, our state rep here in North Andover, let's say somebody that my audience knows better, someone Francisco Polino. Somebody tells me that there's an email exchange, for example, this isn't real, between Francisco Polino and some corrupt political hack in Lawrence. And they say, you're not going to believe what they were talking about in this email. I saw it, but I didn't get a chance to copy it. If it was not the State House, if it was City Hall, in any City Hall, or a State Department, like the State Police, the Department of Training, I could just submit a public records request and say, I want that person's emails. They're a public official, and I want all their emails. And under the state's public records law, they have to give it to me. If they don't give it to me, I can take them to court. The judge can order them to give it to me. And I also built into my law that I wrote that if someone has to take a public official to court to get documents, that public official has to pay the court costs.
That's smart. You thought of it, like of everything.
Because it cost me over $5,000 to fight Willie Lantigua to get copies of legal documents that he wouldn't give me. But there was no provision in the law that says what happens if he just outright refuses. So I built into my law a penalty so that they have to do it, right? So the first thing the legislature did is they said, we want to exempt ourselves. So you can get anything you want from City Hall, Department of Environmental Protection, State Police. But if you want State Representative Jim Smith's emails, and you want to know who he's emailing with within the state, who's he doing business with, who's he soliciting a donation from, we can't get those documents.
That's insane,
And because they exempted themselves, automatically what also gets hidden behind the scenes is what they spend on themselves. So Diana's not trying to audit what the legislature spends on the state police. We already have that information. She wants to know when they go on out-of-state trips, how much are they billing the taxpayers?
They get a stipend for travel.
They get a stipend for travel. They get all kinds of stuff.
Who goes with them?
Well, it depends on what the speaker allows. So the speaker can, if you vote the right way, he'll let you go to Israel and pay the whole freight. But he's not paying it. The taxpayers are paying it. So Diana, who used to be a state rep and who used to be a state senator, realized that there was an illegal slush fund that they were using of taxpayers' money to pay off sexual assault victims at the State House. Women who worked at the State House that were being groped by state reps, and when they complained, they used this slush fund to pay them off, make them sign a non-disclosure agreement, and then nobody ever finds out. So they're basically paying off sexual assault victims to keep them quiet. Well, in order to get the money, they have to sign the NDA. So the first thing Diana did when she became a state rep and a state senator was do with non-disclosure agreements. Then the second thing she did was try to get access to, well, if they have a slush fund, where is that in the budget? Where is that? Where's that budget allocation? And what they do is they have a bottom line number that they allocate to themselves, but they never give you a breakdown of where that money went.
The details, yeah.
So that's what she's trying to audit. So these idiot state reps that got up yesterday and said, the average person on the street doesn't know what they voted for. They don't know the details of that bill. That's true. The average person doesn't know that what she's trying to audit is what they spend on themselves. Yeah. Their out-of-state travel, their meal allowances, their hotel allowances, whatever. But does that matter? The average person wants the legislature audited, and they may not really understand the details of what that means, but they still voted for it. And yesterday, what the state reps did, and I got 3 state reps yelling at me yesterday.
So voting doesn't count. That doesn't matter because they don't know.
No, it doesn't matter.
Because they don't know, right? That's what they're saying?
Right.
Fucking idiots. Go ahead.
The state legislature passed a provision like 25 years ago that any ballot measure has to be approved by the legislature in order to be, because they want to maintain control. They don't want the public to have control. They don't want. Yes, because we're a communist state.
But we're a commonwealth. You know where that word comes from? It comes from when we were Britain was in charge of the 13 colonies. And Massachusetts was one of the first states to say, no, we're not. We're going to do our own good. So the word commonwealth comes from common good. We work for ourselves. We do things for ourselves. The king is not going to tell us what to do. This is where it all started. So you're telling me in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, our state representatives, right, are the ones deciding whether or not what we vote for is allowed? Our
state, the key word is representatives. They're supposed to represent us, right?
Thank you.
So what they decided to do is they decided we're going to throw her some crumbs and make it look like we're complying. So we have deniability. This is that bait and switch that they do all the time to make it look like they're doing something they're not doing. And the state auditor, Diana Duggan, was saying, no, wait a minute. You're not going to, you shouldn't be allowed to control what I have access to. I'm the auditor. Imagine if the IRS came to you and said, we're going to audit you, but just give us what you want.
Exactly.
The IRS would never do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's the same thing. Can you imagine the hubris? Can you imagine the arrogance of these state reps saying, no, we should be able to control what she can look at? Excuse me, but fuck you.
Yep.
You work for us. And the sad thing is, as I've explained on this show many times, these reps do what they're told. And I've had several reps ask me, are you going to support me in this election? And I ask all of them the same question in response. Why should I? What's the point? Whether I support you or I support the guy running against you, you're both Democrats. You're going to vote the way the speaker tells you to vote. He's going to vote the way the speaker tells him to vote. What's the difference?
What's the difference? Yeah.
What is, other than you being my friend, if my name was Jim Smith and I didn't know you, what's my incentive to vote for you over him? You're both exactly the same.
I feel like we're not angry enough, Tom.
I agree.
We are not angry enough. We should be calling our representatives. This bullshit thing that they passed yesterday, it's not what we want. It's not what we asked for. That was not question one. That has nothing to do. Why are they deciding on something we already voted and changing it how they feel like it? That is like insane. That is like they're doing a crime right in your face.
Because we have the illusion of democracy,
They are doing a crime, Tom, right in our faces, and they're treating us like we're freaking idiots.
And that's
we're not idiots.
And that's why I call it a communist state. And I know people always recoil and go, "Oh, that's hyperbole." I'm not. This is not hyperbole. What is communism? One party control, where the elites control. Only they make the people at the bottom feel like they're in control. That's exactly what we have now. They make it seem like they're representing us, but when we vote for something on the ballot, when we vote for gay marriage on the ballot, when we vote for an audit on the ballot, the legislature gets to say, no, we don't want to do that. Well, we don't work for you. You work for us. And to all of my friends, Ryan Hamilton and Estella Reyes and
they voted yes,
Francisco
all of them.
Polino.
They all voted yes, but that's not what we voted for. That's not what we want. You should be voting no.
Right. But here's the sad part, and I'm going to leave you with this. Here's the saddest part of all of this. It's not going to matter because Estella Reyes has nobody running against her. Francisco Polino has a candidate, but he's going to get.
Even she's not going to do anything.
He's going to win. We know he's going to win.
I know, but even if she does, she's not going to do anything. She doesn't have the.
There's nobody running against Frank Moran. There's nobody that can win running against Ryan Hamilton. Most of these people run unopposed. They run unopposed in their primary, and then no Republican can beat them if someone runs as a Republican. So they're all going to get reelected anyway. So all these people who claim that they're outraged, they don't even have a candidate to vote for in November to express their outrage. So at the end of the day, all of these people who voted against Diana are going to walk into re-election in November saying they've got a mandate to not do an audit because we were re-elected anyway. We voted against Diana DiZoglio, and we got elected anyway.
That's why we need a J6 here in Massachusetts.
So 100%.
We need a J6 in Massachusetts.
100%.
This is insane. They are freaking committing a crime.
The feds are going to be knocking on your door tomorrow.
They are committing a crime right in front of our freaking faces. Mm-hmm. They're playing in our faces. They think we're freaking stupid. We're not stupid. We're not an idiot. I'm going to start a campaign, Tom. I'm going to start a campaign, and I'm going to fight for this. That's crazy.
I would welcome that. I think you'd do a good job with that. I really do.
Yeah, but I have an anger issue, and I want to punch people in the face. So maybe I shouldn't. I shouldn't.
Stick with me. I'll help restrain you.
Okay.
So here's my suggestion, because we can't win this fight. We just can't. I mean, the deck is so stacked against us because we're a one-party state. By the way, I've been warning you guys about this for 30 years. There was going to come a day when you guys were going to regret that we were a one-party state, that you refused to elect any Republican ever. And if we had a balanced state like New Hampshire, this wouldn't be a problem. You'd have your audit because the Democrats would be afraid of losing the next election because they would have opposition that could win.
Let's remove my feelings out of it, your feelings out of it, Diana's feelings out of it. Let's think about the freaking victims, okay? Let's think about those women or men, because you never know, right?
Right.
Who went to the state house as interns or went to the state house to work with their state representative, to learn about it, to shadow them, to learn about it.
And they were sexually molested.
And they were sexually molested. They were paid money, signed an NDA without any representation, by the way. And then they And we're paying for it.
Right.
We're paying for them. We're paying for their pain, their sorrow. They're always going to have that with them. They probably have shame walking around. Those students or those interns or whoever it was that it was.
They're going to get blackballed when they try and get another job.
No, not only that. They went there because they really wanted to learn about, I'm just giving you one example.
Government, right.
They want to learn about government. They want to learn about what they can do in the future. Now, we already lost those leaders right there. We lost them. They're not going to want to do it.
And I'll tell you what Diana said to me, because I recruited and worked on her first campaign for state rep. She turned to me one day just randomly and said, you know what I was thinking? She said, if they've got a slush fund for sexual assault victims, what other slush funds do they have? Think about it. Like, so you have
Are we paying for their car?
Right. So you have a contractor that wants to do consultant services, and there's a slush fund for that, and that consultant just happens to be a donor of the Democrat Party, somebody who's very high up, a former rep who voted on all kinds of things to give them all kinds of benefits. And she said, I think the corruption is worse than we think it is. And I'm like, oh, welcome to my world. I've been trying to tell you this for 20 years. But I think she's finally starting to get it. And, I know that there's a lot of talk about her running for governor. I think it's just such a mistake. Stay where you are. You've got autonomy.
Yep.
If you're governor, you have to answer to the legislature. As an auditor, you don't. Stay where you are. Stay where you are and have a huge effect. She's going to get reelected because the same people who will vote for the ones that voted against her audit will vote for her to put her back because
Unless they cheat.
Well, and that's the other thing, too. They could cheat. But I don't think they're putting anybody up against her that can win.
No, but they can cheat.
Yeah, they can.
They can cheat. They can say she did something illegal. They could try to blackmail her. You know how it is.
Yeah.
This place, I'm really disappointed in this state. And aside from all of this, I do love the state of Massachusetts, the education, the healthcare, the people, the culture and stuff like that. But this is insane, Tom. I can't believe we're going through this. I can't believe we're fighting for this, something that we already voted for 2 years ago.
It's such a slap in the face.
It is.
To the voters. But they do it because they know they can get away with it. They know that there's no Republican that can beat them in a final. And any Democrat that runs against them is going to run to their left. They're going to be worse. They're going to be more woke. They're going to be less transparent. So none of these people, and they're all friends of mine. Listen, I'm not saying this because I hate all of these. I love all these. I love Estella Reyes. I love Francisco Poli. I love Frank Marin, and I love that guy. But you look at the way they behave, and privately, they all tell you the same thing. I'm not for this.
I wouldn't send my college child to any state house things by themselves. I would not let them intern anybody in the state house by themselves. I would not let them even work there until they're
They should not allow children in that state house.
Yeah, they shouldn't. I'm sorry. I would never. Don't ever, please.
Most of them are just really scummy people.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're all like that, but I'm sure there's stuff that's going on that we don't know about clearly. They have for sexual harassment victims. That's crazy.
Listen, I love Estella Reyes. I'll support her anytime she runs. I think she's a wonderful person. I don't understand. Well, I do. I understand, but I don't like the way she votes on a lot of things. And I think she's a decent person. She's a decent person. She's not part of that whole scummy male sexual predator thing that's going on up there. But there are others in the local community that are. And I'll tell you, if you knew, you'd be shocked.
Oh yeah.
Someday I'm going to write a book to be published after I die. So nobody can come after me. So it's going to be published. Right, put a time capsule so it's all done. Before we go, I do want to thank Jim Foster. He's one of the guys that produces and helps Prospect Hill, especially when they're on the road. They just got back from a multi-country tour in Europe. They were in Spain. They were in Germany. It was fun watching them on Facebook.
Middle East, maybe one country or no?
I think so. I think so.
Right?
So Jim called me a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he said that he does his own podcast. He has his own his own national podcast where they mostly talk about music and bands and ghosts and
Prospect Hill.
Yeah, like all that kind of stuff, like stuff people talk about when they're sitting around having a beer. And he said, I'd love to have you come on the show and just kind of like talk about like your life experiences and what you do. So last Thursday, the reason why we weren't here is because I was doing his podcast. And I didn't realize they weren't live. So I was telling everybody, I'm going to post it the minute we go live. And then he said, we're not live. We do post-production.
I'm going to listen to it tonight. You said it
so he dropped it this morning. So the first thing I saw when I woke up was they dropped it, and he did a great job editing it. It was a really fun conversation.
Oh God!
There was no talking over each other. It was. I let out a few secrets that I probably shouldn't have.
I knew it.
He called me afterwards, and he goes, "Dude, are you sure you're okay with me like just posting this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "You're gonna end up in witness protection when this is over."
When my podcast is the same thing, I was like, "Should I post this?"
So it dropped this morning. It's on my Facebook page. I think it's one of the better interviews that I've done as the interviewee, the person being interviewed. And I've been on a bunch of shows, and I love doing. I was on.
I know what you're gonna say. Despierta Lawrence.
No, the podcast over on Fralin Angelina has his own podcast.
Yes, yeah, he does good.
And it was English and Spanish, and that was a lot of fun too. I wouldn't mind doing that again. I almost never say no. If somebody asks me to come on, because it's a good chance to promote my podcast, promote the newspaper, promote our bash, promote our scholarships, whatever we're doing. So I'm always looking to expand where we are. But I also recognize that I've got a name, and because I've got a name, people will tune in if I'm there with their audience. And so to help them bring in more viewers and to bring my audience to them. I want everyone to watch Fralin and Angelina's show. I think it's a great show.
I think so too.
And I certainly it's called The Truth Be Trolled, is Jim Foster's podcast,
really?
The Truth Be Trolled. It's a great.
It goes with you.
And it was interesting because we do this show like it's a radio show. We do the music at the beginning. We talk about sponsors. Not them. I walked in, I sat down. We were talking for 15 minutes, and I went, "Oh, we're live." And he went, yeah, we're on. I'm like, I
can't wait to listen.
I didn't realize that. Can I go back? Can we cut some of that other stuff out now?
I'm scared.
So I talked about the night I got shot at. I talked about the corruption in the State House, stuff that I've talked about on the show previously. But it was very interesting. It was fun hanging out with them because there was no pressure and it didn't feel like work. And a lot of times this feels like work because it's what I do. It's what I do for work.
And then, so you said that a lot of people know you, of course, and that's why a lot of people want to get close to you because they want to use your connections.
I'm very disappointed about that.
A lot of people are like that.
And I'm very disappointed about that because we've now learned, a couple of people in the last few weeks that we've learned that, I was trying to help them out because I feel like I'm in the media and I've been doing this for a really long time. And so somebody new in the media, I can probably maybe mentor a little bit and show them what not to do. Mistakes that I made when I first got into this business. And so they don't have to learn by doing it wrong and paying a price for it. They can learn by me having done it wrong and tell them, just don't do it this way. And I decided to take on a couple of people that I wanted to kind of mentor a little bit, and it turned out that they were really just trying to steal my audience, steal my advertisers, steal the publicity that I would bring to. And
I mean, it's okay for a sponsor to come here and wants to use your connections to grow his business. That's normal,
right? Yeah,
because they want to be seen.
That's what they pay me for,
exactly.
right?
They want to be seen. They
right.
want more business.
Like Prime Insurance.
Yeah.
Doug bought ads because he wanted me to promote his business, and so we invite him to come on the show, and so I'm okay with that. But it's when I have a personal relationship with somebody, or I think I have a personal relationship with somebody, and you would think I'd be more hardened to that, having done this for a long time, but I still get sucked in. There are still people that I have faith in that, here's someone that just wants to kind of do it right, so let me show them the ropes.
Exactly.
So I show them the ropes, and then the next thing I know, they're doing their own podcast, but they're calling my advertisers. They're calling my people, trying to get my people. And they're not just calling my people saying, hey, do you want to advertise with me too? They're saying, you don't want to be with Tom. He's but you want to come with me instead. I'm going to give you a better rate. I'm going to get you more publicity.
I would never. When I was on the radio, I used to get pressure in the morning show. I used to get pressured a lot. You gotta bring Tom's people. You gotta bring Tom's people here. I said, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I'm the producer.
Yeah, because that's why they brought you in. They wanted you to bring
I'm actually good. I say what I want, and I don't care. I'm not fake. But I was like, absolutely not. Not one person that I called. Not one person. Not even to you. I even told you. I was like, I never even told you, hey Tom, you want to have an ad on our show?
Right.
Never, because I don't know. People are just. I don't know. People got things wrong. I'm
sorry.
For you, it's like I eat.
Listen, and for you, I'd be okay with it, right?
But I would never do that.
Right.
I would even if let's say I'm in a situation.
I want to come on your show.
Let's say I'm in a situation I really need somebody. I'll come to you and I say, hey Tom, do you know anyone that I can ask that can do a sponsor for something? But I would never. I'm not one person that I call to put an ad on any of my shows. Mm-hmm. You don't do that. That's wrong.
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like you worked all these years, 40 years in the business, in the media and stuff like that. You worked hard for this. These are your people. These people found you because of you.
Right.
Who am I to come and say, oh yeah, I know this guy. Let me get an ad. That's just wrong. Yeah. That's disrespectful. Sorry.
And I'm okay. I like Fralin and Angelina a lot, and I will help that guy. I mean,
Fralin I like. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe someday. You never know, right? I thought Neil Perry was a good guy too, and I thought Mike Samad was a good guy too, and I thought DJ Beauregard was a good guy too.
Let him go.
But no, I'm just saying, you get fooled, right? Sometimes you get fooled by people. So who knows? Maybe Fralin and Angelina will turn out to be a serial killer. I don't think he will.
No.
But you never know, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. But I love that guy, Fralin, and for as long as he continues to prove himself, I'm going to continue to try to help him.
Absolutely.
And there are other people in Spanish language media that I thought I could help, and then I saw what they were saying about me behind my back. You know, the funny thing is, when somebody's trashing me to someone that likes me, but they don't know that that person likes me, quite often, at least once a week, my phone will ring. I'll look down, I'll see who it is, I'll answer the phone, and they don't talk. They've dialed my number so I can hear the conversation going on next to them. And I sit there and I listen to it from my office, and I get madder and madder and madder. I get so mad. And then I finally hang up the phone, and I'll call them a couple hours later or the next day so that that person's not around, and I'll say, was that so-and-so? I recognize the voice. And they were like, yep. And I'm like, wow, that person, I thought that person was like my friend. Like, I thought that I've been really good. It's one thing if you just know someone to say hi. It's another thing if you've gone out of your way to do favors for and sacrificed for. Like, you've gone out of your way to do personal favors for them because you thought they were your friend, and it turns out that they're just using you.
You know something in media world, since I've been in it very short time.
Very cutthroat business.
You're my only friend here.
Really?
There's people that I like, that I talk to, whatever, but it's never on a personal, like, I'll come to you and I'll tell you secrets and I'll tell you things that I know. I can't trust nobody. I can't trust anybody there.
You can't.
Even people who were running. Remember last year how we got screwed over? People who came, who I thought, oh my God, this really helped this person. Like, I really thought this person's a great choice. And out of my heart, because I have a heart, I think, still, hopefully I do. I wanted to help people, and then these people just come and they stab you in the back. Mm-hmm. They think they're better than you. They think they know more than you. It's like, come on now. You serious? All right, you want to take it? I'm done. I'm not talking about. I'm tired of people, Tom. You're right about everything you said about people. People suck.
People suck. People suck. Nancy used to hate it. Nancy used to hate when I said people suck. People are good, and I used to say, listen.
I used to say that too.
Think about the psychology of what you're telling me. You're telling me you believe that people are basically good, that they have a basic inherent instinct to be good. When a baby first learns to talk, after mama and dada, what are the first words that they learn and they say incessantly? No, me, mine.
That's true.
Every fucking baby in the history of mankind, it's mama, dada, and then no, me, mine. Why? Because it's not in our instinct to be good. It's in our instinct to be selfish. It's our instinct to care about ourselves and self-preservation and self-interest. We have to teach our children to share. Right? You have to teach your children to share. Your children don't naturally share with other kids. You have to teach them to be nice. You have to teach them to share. And so it's not in our nature to be good. It's just not. And you look at the development of every country in the last 500 years, and people have to be taught, and people have to have criminal justice systems to be forced to be good, to be forced to behave. And so people are not genuinely good. And once you understand that, that's what liberals just don't get. Liberals think that, like, if someone commits a heinous crime and they go to jail,
poor thing.
and we just teach them what they did was wrong, when they get out, they'll be better people. And that's a failed strategy 100% of the time, because people are selfish. It is innate in our nature to be selfish. You have to teach them and give them an incentive not to be selfish. And then you have a chance at success. And by the way, that's exactly what Sheriff Coppinger talked about at the very beginning of this show. It's having programs where you can show people that they can benefit more by doing it the right way. If they go through a program, if they stay clean, if they stay away from the drugs, he'll teach you a vocation. He'll teach you a trade. He'll give you an ability to raise money for your rent and for your mortgage and for your family. And that's going to hopefully give you an incentive not to reoffend. And his recidivism numbers prove it. They prove it. And so I say again, people suck.
They do.
And if you can find...
Even family members, too. Some family members suck.
That's even the worst, because you expect your family to be on your side, so your guard's usually down.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when you get screwed.
You don't choose your family, you choose your friends.
100%.
And the people that are around you.
I talk to maybe 8 members of my family, and I don't talk to anybody. I have 13 brothers and sisters.
Damn.
I talk to 3. And my sister Becky once in a while. The only reason I don't talk to Becky is because we're kind of like not in each other's worlds. But we talk online. If I see her online, I'll send her a message. But, I mean, I have a lot of relatives, a lot of cousins, a lot of
cousins around here. We're like 300 deep in this area.
And I don't talk to any of them. I don't want any part of any of them. I see them.
I talk to one.
I don't. If I were to see like my stepsister Kelly, on Essex Street, I would cross the street to avoid even looking at her.
Oh, I thought
that's
you were going to say you would run her over.
No, I would never do that. No, I don't want to hurt anybody.
No,
But I just listen. As much as I don't like my stepsister Kelly, just going to use her as an example. If she was in a fire, I would put a ladder up and I would save her and I would bring her down. But when I was done, I would make it perfectly clear that this is not an indication that we're going to be friends. Like, I don't want you to thank me. Don't send me a thank you card. Don't knock on my door later. Don't think that we're going to have a good relationship now. I still don't like you. I don't want you in my life. But I also don't want you to die in a fire. So if you needed something, if she was homeless, I would give her food. If she needed something, I would help because she's my stepsister. And that's what stepbrothers are supposed to do. But then don't talk to me anymore. Like, please leave my life. Please.
I thought I was wrong for
leave
feeling
me.
the same
No,
way that
you're 100% right.
I freaking hate, and not even hate. I just don't want some people in my life. I don't want people in my business knowing what I'm doing, what's going on with me. Mind your business. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want you in my life. I thought it was the only one.
So I think next week we have 2 shows.
We do.
So we are going to have, I'm just going to announce now, we are going to have candidate for Governor Brian Shortsleeve is coming back. And he's going to be here on Wednesday. We're going to do a special Wednesday 5 o'clock show.
Oh, yes. I remember now.
And then he's going to come with us to TMF.
Okay.
And then we're going to drive him around Lawrence. And we're going to do like we did with Chris Doty when he ran for governor.
Okay.
We're going to show him the homeless encampments. We're going to have him talk to some of the homeless, some of the addicts.
Okay.
So that he gets a first-hand idea. Because, listen, who knows? The guy might be governor, right? Or maybe not this time, maybe next time, maybe a senator. But to me, it's always important to have people who are kind of coming up in politics to understand from the ground level. And not like the Tram Wins of the world who live in a multi-million-dollar home in Andover, who thinks she knows what the homeless problem is, but has never once stepped foot in Lawrence. So I want him to see, like Chris Doty and some of the other politicians, why are some of these people on the streets? What is the problem? Why do they have such a hard time getting clean? What services are available and not available? And just kind of get a handle on what's going on out there.
I love that. I don't never see any Elizabeth Warren in Lawrence go under the bridge.
Never.
They only come to big events,
right.
Non-profit events.
They come when they want votes.
No, they come to the big non-profit events where the state gives money
photo
to
ops
because they're their friends and they're following the same agenda.
Right.
But I don't see them out in the ground. I love that for Brian Shortsleeve. I'm looking forward to that next week, Tom.
And then the next day, Thursday.
Okay.
I believe we have Selena Reyes is going to be coming in. She's running against Francisco Polino, and that's going to be interesting because that's going to be a very dirty fight. That's going to be.
She's in Lawrence. She was at the concert on Saturday.
She's everywhere.
Everybody's coming hi to say hi. They like her.
And she did not stand with us on TMF, but I still love her. But
people like her. I don't know.
She's a nice person.
And she gets things done. You know that? Out of all I don't know, but a lot of people tell me that they call her for things. And she gets it done. She's on it. She follows up with you.
And she's Brian's handpicked candidate. So she has a shot. I'm not too sure how much of a shot she
Lawrence,
has. Because that's a district that's Lawrence and Methuen. And Francisco lives in Methuen. Most people think he lives in Lawrence, but he doesn't. He lives in Methuen. So he's going to pull the Methuen vote. People in Methuen are going to vote for a Methuen candidate. They want a candidate from their own neighborhood.
He speaks English, too. Selena speaks English.
She speaks,
right?
I'd hate to go down this road, but I will because that's what my audience wants me to do. I have a hard time understanding Francisco sometimes. Now, when he was here last time, he was very well spoken, and he spoke slowly. I know he's trying harder to be better understood, but Selena has that same problem. Like her accent is very thick, and so if you don't know her and you haven't talked to her a bunch of times, and she's going to come here. You'll notice when I have people like that on, when they say something, I kind of repeat my next question to them. I repeat back what they said into the next question so that the people at home, if they didn't catch it. I believe she's going to be here, so we're going to have Brian Shortsleeve is going to be here. And listen, if my friend Jim Lyons or any of my pro-life Republican friends that have been attacking on Facebook for the last 3 months want to find a way to get Mike Minogue on the show, I will have him on. I will be as respectful as I am with everybody else. I will treat him with the same courtesy as everybody else.
You can't find an email for him anywhere. I try to get him
he's
to the
very
Spanish
not. He won't debate. He's not transparent. He's trying to buy the seat.
Well, there's no.
He's trying to buy the seat.
Let me tell you something. I've looked everywhere for an email, for a contact. I reached out to him on Instagram. That's the only way that I can get to him. I don't even know who the campaign manager. He has a bunch of people doing financial things. I don't know. I don't have a single contact number to get to him.
He's not a grassroots guy. Well, that's fine because he's got a lot of money. He's trying to buy the seat, and he'll probably end up buying at least a nomination. But I think Brian Shortsleeve, and I'm going to say it again. We've gone round and around, and I'll end with this. You cannot win in Massachusetts for governor if you're pro-life. Now, I'm not saying, well, a lot of people hear me say that, and I get emails from people going, I didn't realize you were pro-abortion, Tom. I'm not pro-abortion. I'm more pro-life than Mike Minogue is. I'm not even for abortions for rape and incest. I don't think we should be punishing the child for the circumstances surrounding their conception. I think it's murder. So I don't even make exceptions for rape and incest. So I'm a very pro-life guy. I'm an extremist on the pro-life issue. So I'm not saying it because I'm not pro-life. I'm saying it because it's true. You cannot win in Massachusetts if you're pro-life for governor. 11% of the Massachusetts voters are pro-life. 11. That means 89% of Massachusetts voters are pro-abortion.
And it's not like he can take away your right to get an abortion,
no.
right?
But they'll still just use it against him. But they'll still use it against him. Just like Elizabeth Warren went from town to town and city to city saying abortion, 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 abortion. And she trounced Scott Brown, who was an incumbent. Incumbents never lose. But she beat an incumbent over abortion. Jeff Deal ran for governor 4 years ago. Got trounced. Why? Because he's pro-life.
I feel like he's gonna lose, unfortunately.
So we're gonna have Brian Schlosslev in. I think he actually could win the nomination.
Okay.
As the Republican nominee, I really kind of hope he wins the nomination. But I will also say this: if Mike Minogue is the candidate for the Republican Party, I will work as hard for him as I work for anybody else, because Maura Healey has to go.
She has to go.
I just don't think he can pull it off. But I'm going to do it. I will jump in with both feet. I will write a check. If he's the nominee, I'm going to support him.
She's like I said.
She's an agent of the drug cartels. That's what she is.
Is this state like the number one state for nonprofits?
Yep.
How many nonprofits
and illegal aliens
can this little state hold?
Right.
There's so many nonprofits that get support from the state, thanks to Maura Healey. And these people, who do they have? The CEOs are people in the communities. The people that they hire are people in the communities. So they also bring food. They also give jobs to the community. So it's going to be tough.
Yep.
I wonder if he's pro nonprofits. Like, what does he think about all these nonprofits? And who checks on these nonprofits? There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, the Attorney General is supposed to be in charge of the nonprofits. And like Kelly Frazier had her nonprofit, and we all know what was going on with that
Anybody
thing.
can open a nonprofit. There's no background check. There's nothing. You can just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Get money and then say, I'm getting paid $100,000, and my nonprofit is only giving out $30,000. It's crazy.
Well, think about it. The IRS says if you get more than $50,000 in donations or spend more than $50,000 as a nonprofit, you have to declare all of your expenses and all of your income with the Department of Revenue.
Yeah, but you can pay yourself. You can have a CEO on a nonprofit. Let's say it's you because you own it.
Yeah, and
right?
they're paying themselves, but they weren't filing anything.
And you don't have to give credit for that. I mean, you pay your taxes as a regular person, but not through the nonprofit.
There are 300 nonprofits that claim they help the homeless in Lawrence. 300.
3?
Yeah. Do you know how many are actually helping the homeless in Lawrence? Like 3.
Yeah.
You have Lazarus House, you have TMF, you have House of Mercy. Yeah, and maybe 4. You have Bread and Roses. And then you've got like the church, you got Quorunum, and that's pretty much it. Like there's other little groups that maybe do small.
Be careful with the church. That might be the church itself funding it.
Well, they do. They get it from their parishioners, so that's not tax money, which is good. But there's a lot of nonprofits, and you look at what Kelly Frazier was doing. So the law says that you have to declare your expenses. You have to file an expense sheet if you raise or spend more than $50,000. So when we caught her with her nonprofit with all the foolishness she was doing, her excuse to the state was, well, we didn't raise $50,000. We don't come under that umbrella. But then we got her application when she applied for the loan in Lawrence City Hall, where she put that she got a $52,000 grant from the state last year. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, you got $52,000 on your application. So I turned that over to the state. Did they do anything? No, not really.
Nope.
I mean, she's closed down, but they didn't. Nobody's ever gone to jail for the $9,000, for the $18,000 in free lobster that she got for veterans that were going to all of her friends and the police officers that they were buying off in Lawrence and Methuen. All right, yeah, we got to go.
I know, sorry.
All right, no, you're right.
Sorry, guys.
You're right, and I'm hoping that I can get it over to Sisu, but if I can't, I'll make a little small donation. Anything else you want to? So we got Selena Reyes next Thursday. We got Brian Schlosslev next Wednesday. Any candidate for office that wants to come in, we're going to be booked up because we only do a show once a week. But if you want to come in on a day we're not doing the podcast regularly and you want to pay the $200 an hour for the studio time, I will have you on any day you want. I will change my schedule. I'll come in on a Monday as long as it's not booked. I'll come in on a Monday to the studio, and we will have you do, and that's what Brian is doing next week because we're booked out 6 months out.
I know.
Right? So he said, I really want to get in now. And I'm like, well, you'd have to do it like on a Wednesday and pay for the time.
Even if we don't like you, you can come. We want to talk to you.
Yeah, listen, I want the people that I'm not supporting more than the people I am supporting. I want Mike Minogue here. I want to look at the guy in the eye and say, how do you plan on winning as a pro-life candidate? Maybe he's got an answer that can belay my concerns. Yeah. But unless he's here and he can say it to my face, I don't want to hear it. I don't want it on Twitter. I don't want it on Facebook, and I don't want it on the news. Yeah. I want to be able to ask the follow-up question because the genius of the job of journalists is not the question they ask; it's the follow-up question that they don't ask.
Got it.
And so I want him to be here. I wanted Keneally here, and he wouldn't even take my calls.
Really?
And that guy's entire campaign, his entire campaign for governor was, he turned around the Lawrence schools. Well, this is my wheelhouse. I'm right here. Why aren't you on my show? Why aren't you calling the Valley Patriot? Why aren't you talking to me?
What if I spoke to him?
Guy wouldn't even take my call.
Really?
Yeah.
He's afraid of you.
So I think Brian Schultze at least has a shot. I think he's the only one that has a shot. But I'd like to hear from Mike Minogue. Maybe he can convince me. I don't know.
I don't know. You're hard to convince, but we'll see. All right, let's play.
But I'm at least open-minded. I'm at least willing to give anybody a shot. Anybody, even people that I dislike personally. How many times have I invited DJ Beauregard here? I still want him to come on. I would love to have him come in even just to talk about happy shit. Listen, if DJ called me tomorrow and said, listen, Tom, I want to come on. I want to talk about budget stuff. I want to talk about this. But I don't want any controversy. Let's just have a happy show. I'd allow
Laurie Keegan here?
As 100%.
Mary Beth?
100%. 100%.
Dan Shabilia?
100%.
Whoa.
If Dan Shabilia called tomorrow and said, I want to come on your show, that would be the highest rated show ever.
Mike Samar? There it is, guys. Come on, let's go. Let's end this show. I like Mike. He's a nice guy.
No, he's not.
He's always nice to me.
I don't know that I could say no, though. Like, I would want to say no to Mike Samad, but at the end of the day, I would probably say yes.
Listen to what he has to say. He's out in the field all day. You know, he sees things differently. You never know.
He certainly sees things differently.
Shout out to Mike Samar, working out there
in
the
the
city.
Best.
In the city, you know, it's
He
tough.
retired. He's not a cop anymore.
Oh, he's not? Oh,
yeah, he
okay.
retired.
It's tough. It's a tough job, Tom.
Listen, I give him credit. He's an Air Force veteran.
Yeah.
He's a veteran. He served the country, put his life on the line. Can't take that away from him.
Got my respect, yeah.
He's a police officer, put his life on the line. I even think scumbag cops deserve. And I'm not saying he's a scumbag cop. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying even bad cops. All right.
Sorry.
All right, let me talk about our sponsors on the way out the door. Thank you to Kevin Coppinger, Sheriff. Century 21 McLennan Real Estate. Brando's, it's Billy from Brando's. Brando's Cutlets at the old Harrison's roast beef over there. Town Roofing, Chachi's Junk Removal. He also does car detailing. La Despierta Lawrence, the Zany Pesh Law Office. Her and her first husband do great work. On the Go Notary, Martian & Son Construction, EIS. Investigation and Gun Training, Tomo and Shaken Seafood, AFC Urgent Care, Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors. Look how great she looks today. It really is kind of amazing, isn't it? Martian & Son Construction, EIS Investigation, Tomo and Shaken Seafood, EIS Investigation. I kind of glossed over that. Sorry, Joe. AFC Urgent Care, Prime Insurance, the Doug Mercurio Law Office, 4-Star Lighting. Hopefully Sheriff Coppinger soon. Total Mortgage, Stadium Chiropractic, Limbert and Randone, and JG's Ice Cream. Sounds like Melvin Taylor says you got to go home. Thank you, Sheriff Coppinger and Gretchen. So go home already.